This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. If you'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we are kicking off tonight with a public hearing. This is the public hearing for the CCSWA language, Connecticut Solid Waste Authority language. This doesn't obligate us to do anything, but it is a change to our ordinances, so it requires a public ordinance. Do I need to do more background?
Not really. There's no obligation. It is, CCSWA is housed under the umbrella of CROG. It's been around for about 13 years now. And basically it's an organization that exists to facilitate intertown cooperation when it comes to garbage. That's what we talk about. We talk about trash.
Yeah.
So it's a shell. It could do a lot or it could do nothing. And this ordinance language has really been streamlined to make it less likely that future revisions need to go to the towns for an ordinance review and revision. So it's a little bit more flexible, but it doesn't obligate the town to do anything at all.
Yeah, the language seems very similar throughout.
Yes. Yes. So
Okay.
there's really no downside.
Yeah. Would anybody from the public like to comment on CCSWA changes to ordinances? Assuming not, I'll take a motion to exit the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I have a motion to accept the language of the public hearing, the language of the proposed changes to the ordinance.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we have minutes of preceding meetings. Before we do the November 7th, I'll take a motion to amend the agenda to add minutes of the October 10th meeting. Can I have a motion for that? To amend the agenda?
Oh, she moved.
Oh,
Second.
okay, sorry. I didn't-
Either one.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so October 10th minutes. Right, so we had some, I think this is our last meeting, we were discussing this October 10th, these October 10th meeting minutes. This was the meeting where we had the Old Farms Road discussion. I think there was some desire to change some of the recording of the minutes with respect to the Old Farms Road discussion itself.
Yep.
And so Jennifer has done that, and so you have a copy now of what the suggested revised minutes are. I just say, this is not exactly how I remember this going. There's a lot more detail in this than I think was actually presented in the meeting.
It's really a combo of a few comments throughout the 4 hours. So it's more of a summary. I mean, it can be moved to a different location, but it was some things where there's back and forth with people in the audience and where I was saying, oh, I agree with this and I think we should do this. It was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to figure out in the 4 hours where that went. So I went by my notes of the different things I said and just put it together and sent it to her. But I didn't want her to have to go back and listen to 4 hours.
So this is I understand this problem very well, in that I frequently say things that I go back and listen to it and I wish I had said it a little more clearly sometimes, or it gets spread out over time and you kind of lose the cohesiveness of it. But what, the danger So I guess maybe first I'll say, like, the beauty of our minutes, we have this narrative style that Jennifer spends a lot of time putting together.
Yeah.
A third party that represents what the audience, what the audience gets out of something, what the audience hears, and it's unbiased by any of us outside of, outside of what was actually said in the meeting, or is the idea, at least. This is, so I am a member of all kinds of other groups by duty of being the chief elected official. And I can't make it all those meetings. I try and read minutes all the time. I can tell you, like, this is a wealth of information compared to most of the other meetings. Most other meeting minutes, it's this is what the vote tally was per item. So,
well, I don't mind if we just leave it the way it was, and then the next time it makes sense, if the topic comes up in the next meeting or two of Old Farms, I could just restate it. Then that might be the better way to do it.
That's what I was going to propose. I was going to say,
That's fine.
it's inevitably going to happen to all of us that we're going
That's
to
fine.
read this and say, oh man, that's not really what I meant.
But you guys were all correct. What I was saying was much earlier in the meeting. It wasn't at the end. The recap was just what you said.
Okay.
It wasn't, you know what I mean? So.
Right, I was just concerned that the main point was you're in agreement with what, at the end of the discussion with the consultant, they were tasked. We
for
tasked
them.
them with to go
Right.
back for the alternates.
Right,
Because it is clear that there was discussion about the trailhead,
right.
but in the end, that's not
That
going to
wasn't
be
their
in the
purview.
scope.
Right, exactly.
So I think, so that-
I'll just.
Is that fair?
Yeah,
Like,
That's
seems
fine.
okay.
but I also want to say, like, I
Yeah,
think,
no, I think that's good. I'm sure it'll come up again, so I'll just go, by the way, this is
well,
what I had meant to
so the
say.
other alternative
you know,
here, and I
together.
think, like, we've talked about this before, and I don't ever want it to feel like we're not, or someone's words are being misrepresented. So, like, if you guys are ready for it, I would be okay with moving towards just having the voice recording or the video recording just available after
Yeah.
every meeting.
I think that's very clear.
And that way, if anybody
Yeah,
wants
I
to,
think that's fine.
is that
Yeah,
fair?
so that way, that's fine. I don't know, does that make it easy for you to pluck out? I don't know if it was one sentence or two.
I have both versions.
Okay.
On my computer.
All right, so if there was no other
whichever
change,
you wanna keep
those are
the
my only
original
ones,
or.
that's fine.
Well,
I mean, the second version was fine
Okay.
You okay?
too, I think, wasn't it?
No, the revised version?
Revised version, was it not?
That
No,
was,
that's the one that included the comments that Margaret wanted inserted in there. The first version
Yeah.
that we got on the November
Right.
7th meeting
yeah,
is the ones that I think are up for adoption,
Okay,
not the revised second version that we have in front of us that
Okay.
has
that's fine.
additional edits.
Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Oh, yeah, because I know those other things I said much earlier in the
Gotcha.
meeting. I just thought, there's no way. You should have to sit through that again and have to read it. So I said, I don't care where you put this.
Okay.
But I know throughout the evening, I said a couple of these things.
Yeah.
So I'll just repeat them
Fair
at some point when Old Farms comes up again.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to wait that long. We have communication from council every time,
Yeah.
say then, or, again, I think this is gonna happen to all of us
Yeah,
eventually.
that's fine.
I just wanna
No, I think
have a
that's
way
good
that we
to
can
do.
move through the minutes
Yeah.
quickly at the beginning of the meeting, but then also, I think it is time that, we have a lot going on, and it's good if the public wants to tune in, listen to
Yeah.
the meetings.
Yes,
So-
I agree.
Okay.
Is that
That's fine with me.
So how
is
is
that a
that
big
gonna
ask? I
happen?
was
Yeah.
gonna say, is that a big ask to get the video recordings
Posted?
posted and have a tab? What's this?
No, it's not.
Not that, it's not a big ask.
Okay, I
So.
think that would be great, because then
So it'd be
if
audio
people
and
can't make
video.
it, they can certainly then
Okay,
watch it.
that's
Do
good.
we-
Because I know it,
Meeting link.
yeah,
Yes.
because it
Yeah.
used to be that, maybe I'm thinking years ago, but it used to be that we only had audio, but I'm sure we've upgraded so that, yeah, that's interesting. That would keep people listening if they could see a little
Do we need
stuff going
a,
on instead of just sounds
Because
of
it's
people.
so
do we
riveting.
need a motion for that, or is it,
No. We can
just,
add it to it.
okay,
So
thank you.
then, all right, so then you were the motion.
Yeah,
and
okay,
then
so we'll-
However. and
Okay,
we'll-
so I'll make a motion to accept the October 10th meeting minutes as
As
originally
original.
presented.
Yeah.
at the-
I'll second that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes.
We have November 7th next. Any comments or?
I only have something small, but I think you'll be like, yep, you need to correct that. When I did my thing about Kathy Durden having passed away,
Yeah.
at one point it said Mr. Durden.
Oh, okay.
So if we could fix that to
Got it.
Mrs.
Yep.
And then after the last comma, if you could so say, and she was, because
Wait, you said last.
the last
where-
comma,
comma.
so
Okay,
one, two, last sentence, last comma, right after that, and she was, otherwise it seems like we're connecting
Okay.
her personal aspect with her, the spending, her opinions, and, you know,
Got
so,
it. Okay.
but that's it, just those. The main one was the misses. So,
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve pending Margaret's edits.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have communication from audience. Who's next? Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to share anything? If not, then we'll move over to communication from council. Who wants to start us off today? Anybody dying to go first?
I can go.
Go ahead, Mark.
Let's see, I just wanted to say, and Barbara was there too. I ran into her there. We went to the, Sunday, November 17th, the public preview opening of the Avon History Museum. And in case anyone wants to know where that is, it's 8 East Main Street, and the building had been refurbished. It's not full with all the artifacts yet, but they're hoping over the next few years. And I should say renovated, not refurbished.
Yeah.
But, and then the other thing I went to was on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, December 3rd. It was the 1-year anniversary of the opening of the Pet Pantry. And we all know Christine Pescatori. She was she helped a lot getting that started. She was there. Of course, Angela Grano, our town animal control officer. And the special guest was, I want to get it right. Why can't I read this now? Hold on. Oh, the name of the dog. It was so cute. Amelia. Amelia was a special guest. I don't know if you all remember. They rescued her and the people who helped donate a lot and got the donations going to help pay for that. And then the adopted mother. And then it ended with the best thing, pet story time. It was very cute. And I have a picture, but the people with their dogs, the dogs were listening to the story in the picture. It was the best. I didn't expect that. I didn't know there was a pet story time, so I just stayed for it. It was great, but it was a good gathering of some people. So it was a really nice event. And I want to apologize to anyone in the fire department. I was not around. We went away the weekend before Thanksgiving, so we were not able to enjoy that, what you guys are probably going to talk about, which is the fire department dinner. So, but I would have gone if we were in the state. So.
Was the pet pantry pretty full? Were they stocked well?
It looked okay. I do know, and I ask this each time, I always say, what is the main thing they keep running out of? And the main thing each time I ask is cat litter, but in small containers where an elderly person can lift it, because that can be heavy, but also small little containers. It's really bags. So they even told me, and I went out and got some and brought it back, but at Walmart, there's some kind of bag of 4 smaller bags, and then they break it apart. So I bought a couple of those, donated that, so now they have multiples, but like she said, they could be gone by now. I brought them on Tuesday, but that's what they have the highest demand for, is cat litter, but I'm sure they need other things for dogs.
But not linens. I asked her about linens. The Girl Scouts wanted to bring in linens. They do not need linens.
Okay, good to know.
Great, thank you. Anthony?
No, we're good. I wish everybody happy holidays.
There you go.
I also missed the fire department dinner, regrettably. We were also out of town. So hopefully I'll hear from you guys about that. And the History Museum was great. I got a wonderful tour. I even got to go downstairs and see how nicely that's all been redone.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, that was
I'll
nice
have
of
to go
her. She was like, come down. Got to see all the storage of all the artifacts and things there, and it's very exciting, and it looks great, and sounds like they've got some great plans in the next few months. I had the Connecticut Water Advisory Committee meeting today, and I just wanted to mention, in case anybody else like me got the letter regarding the lead. Did you get one too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did.
Okay, so I was like, what exactly are we supposed to do as the consumer? You can call them, there's a QR code, you can scan that, or you can go on their website, and you can basically just put in information about your address and some information that maybe they didn't have, and they can easily help you figure out if it's likely or not likely, because they were heavily regulated in the way that they had to send the letter out, in the language of the letter. So if for some reason it is determined that you need to do an upgrade, they are doing a no interest for 1 year, split the cost with the owner to get it from the curb to the house. So that's something to ask too, if you end up in that situation. But I was a little concerned when I got the letter, so
What did the
that was
letter
good
say?
clarification.
I'm on
Just,
as well.
they had to, per Connecticut statute, I guess, or new regulations, they had to determine if there is lead or copper in piping for every household.
Just lead, not copper.
Just a little bit,
Just lead.
Oh, was it just lead? Okay.
I think.
There's a lot of copper out there. Lead soldering
Well,
in
it
the
was
copper?
lead. Yeah, maybe.
Because copper piping in
It was
itself.
definitely, right, no,
is
there's
not-
tons of copper, but there was, yeah, so, okay,
Hmm.
maybe it was just lead. I know the slide they showed today, though, had something with copper, but
Interesting.
it's, just to check the lead levels. So I guess they know, based on some of the houses' history, whether or not, who built it, whatever, what materials were used, but some houses they don't. So they have now, I think, until 2027 to continue to do this. They're going to have to dig in some spots to determine what the lines are if they can't figure it out. So if you are on town water or Connecticut Water and you've got that letter, go to the website or call them and they'll walk you through it. But I don't think there's any immediate expense or anything to do the initial determination.
Do they know what each house piece of information they're missing?
I believe so, yes. So I think whatever they used for this first go around that had to be done by mid-October is what then the letters were based on. So it was undetermined. The people who they were not able to determine it one way or the other got this letter. So now it's like the next step where they can collect. They said a lot of times you can just take a picture of like your water main line in your basement and then they can determine it from that. So it's as easy as just calling them and then like texting or sending a picture. So anyway, I don't know if anybody else has that issue, but I just wanted to mention that. Otherwise, I wish everybody happy holidays, and can't believe we had more snow than expected today, so that was a surprise. Since I don't have anybody to
Did you have
plow.
no school? Anthony?
Did you have no school?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very productive today.
There you go.
I just wanted to mention that, thanks to the help of Grace, we have, and some of my colleagues, we've put out some flyers for Avon Shines for the businesses to light up all of Avon this year, not just Main Street. And I think that Dom's is gonna get a little bit of a run for its money this
Yeah.
year because North House is really lighting up the bottom of the hill. And, people are, I think, the people that have been doing something, they're really putting a lot of effort in. So Dom's maybe putting out a video soon challenging people to try to get the trophy from them. But they've done a good job as well, so we hope more businesses will participate. And then the residents will get to vote.
Can we get a picture of the trophy on like the town website or something like that? Or is that,
We have
we
a
got-
picture.
oh, so
Yeah,
you
I
do it on
can send it
Facebook?
to you.
Yeah.
like,
I even have video of
I
it.
think I
personally.
posted it last year. Yes, I went and found,
Yeah.
I have the video. Yeah.
You have the
Yeah.
video? Okay.
Of it.
Don't use the
Yeah, because it
audio.
was
I don't know if
shimmering.
there's audio.
It was shimmering with the lights on.
there's audio.
No.
I can always resend it. It's amazing what we can do with a glue gun.
Yeah, sure.
It's very gaudy. It's perfect.
All right, I've got Veterans Day on my list. So I don't think I talked about this last time. I think it was.
No,
I think
it was
our
right
last one
before,
after.
yeah.
So Veterans Day, I know a few of us were there. Bridget and I were invited to speak. It was a good turnout. There's a lot there's a lot that happened behind the scenes leading up to that Veterans Day ceremony. We had, I think it was Heidi Zakara last year had kind of talked to me after the 2023 veterans ceremony and said, wouldn't it be great if we could find a way to get more veterans, more audience, or more members of the community to come out and support the veterans. We talked about maybe moving into the senior center. And we kind of kicked that idea around a bit, and I think ultimately the veterans took a vote on it, and so they'd rather do it at the memorial, understandably. And we kind of lucked out in that it was great weather. I think we had better turnout than usual, but it's still maybe 50, 70 people. Not as many as it should be. So I hope as we kind of gear up for next year's, we can continue to think of ways to maybe get the word out more. With regards to Veterans Day, I know it's for anybody who doesn't know, it's one of the best things they do is so all of our kids are in school on Veterans Day, which is great as a parent, but also they go around, they pick up the veterans and bus them around to the different schools, and they get the chance to talk to the kids, and the kids get a different appreciation for veterans and peace and the impact of war. So. But it's good. It's a really good ceremony. It was Commander Stinson's first time around with it, and he did a great job. So yeah, good event. Hopefully we can get more people out to it next year. I want to mention Winterfest, or the Snowflake Festival. I'm not really sure which one to call it, which is coming up Saturday. I think it starts at 5 o'clock. Town Green area, I believe, right? And they have a beer garden and some little heated huts, and they're doing a tree lighting ceremony. So hopefully I'll see a few of you there.
And they have a contest. So
They do.
residents can, I think, pay $25 to win best decorated home. And it's actually quite a good prize. I think the first prize is like $500 and then maybe $250 for the second person.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And so what is the time on Saturday?
I think it's 5 o'clock is when everything starts, and I want to say that tree lighting was maybe 7, but it's on their. They have a Facebook page. They have a website. It's easier to find the website if you go to the Facebook page.
And do you
But maybe
look up
we
others?
can put a email blast.
Yeah, maybe one of those speed blasts could help us all remember.
Yeah, help them out a little bit. I did make it to the fire dinner, Avon Volunteer Fire Department dinner. It was really good, as always. It was at the polo fields. Let's see, I think a few memorable events this time. There was a rescue that happened off of Horse Guard Park earlier in the year. And they had the I don't want to say victim, but the person who had to be rescued, and she was there with her mother, and they were able to present some awards to the fire department, which was really neat. The police were there also to take part in that, as they were part of the rescue operation. We had a keynote speech was from one of the fire building, the group, the consultants that we're using for the fire department, for fire building project. He is a Pacheco, Dave Pacheco, I think his name is. He's a architect and also volunteer firefighter back in his hometown. And he gave a perspective on, it was a good perspective on what modern fire departments need out of their fire stations and out of their departments to kind of keep the volunteerism alive. I've asked him to give us a copy of the speech, forward it to you all when I get it. And then finally, Brandon actually presented Tom Klein with the very first issued radio for the communication
Well deserved.
system, which
It's great.
yeah, it was great. It's a good ceremony. I hope everybody can make it next year. It's a lot of fun. That's all I've got. So
Sorry, I did hear that the turkey trot was a really
that's
great
right.
turnout. It was
Yeah.
like 600
Yes.
participants.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Yeah.
And a lot of people did a lot of hard work on that, so
Yep.
that was good, that was so successful.
Yep, and that's it's worth reminding everybody that we did help fund that with some of the community grant fund money. So yeah, a great event. Thanks to the organizers for that.
How long is that race? I used to run the Manchester Road Race every year, but
think
that
it's
was
5K,
decades
right?
ago.
I think it's 5K.
Okay.
Okay, before we move on to old business, I wanted to ask if there are any Eagle Scouts online. I don't think so, but I know we don't have any in the audience, so we'll go ahead and keep that for new business later on. Old business, we have 23-24-16, the acceptance of the Recreation and Parks Master Plan. You all received some comments from the public and from other elected officials in some cases and appointed officials. So we have, there are a few comments here with regards to the lack of discussion in the Recreation Parks Master Plan on the rail trail. Not only the rail trail, but the paths, recreational paths and open space, or I guess like future parkland procurement. That was, maybe it was an oversight on our part, but it was not part of the charge. I'll say for myself, the predominant issue that I was hearing from the town was indeed like the scheduling issues and the field usage, and that's really what we focused the scope in on. Again, so maybe it was a bit of an oversight. I do think there are going to be plenty of future opportunities to dive more into the to the trails and maintenance of the trails and future ideas with the trails and future open space procurement. In particular, the the plan of conservation and development, which is kind of right around the corner for us, right?
2026.
2026.
So we're going to budget for it in this capital cycle.
Yeah. So I want to acknowledge that. Yeah, I think maybe you can make the argument that it was overlooked to some degree, but it wasn't our most pressing issue, and I think to some degree that's like Pike Walk Avon is a victim of its own success in that regard. In that, like the trails, it's an absolute treasure, and they're pushing for improvements on it all the time. And I know a lot of it. We know a lot of attention is being given to it, so it just wasn't the primary concern for me, at least, going into the update for the Recreation and Parks Master Plan. But yeah,
Is the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail? I keep using the term rails to trail.
That is
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, I'm gonna put.
So just for clarification, or for the record, we've got Bike Walk Avon, who's an amazing community group that fights for, obviously, the rails, trails, and trails. I know in terms of the trail system, is that part of, like, what fund, who really oversees it? Is it still, because I know Parks and Rec talks about it a lot. So is it part of Parks and Rec, but then the funding comes out of what, forestry? Like, it's a town, okay. So
Yes.
I just so that people are clear, like where to look to see, if someone's concerned about there not being enough attention paid to it or funding being, put towards it, they should be looking at just
Right.
town.
it's like public works
Public
requests
work,
usually.
right.
Yeah.
Recreation, public works
Okay.
can fall in either one. Yes.
And how does Avon Land Trust factor in terms of,
Open space.
I mean, that's open space. How does the town support them? Or are they
Yeah.
pretty self-sufficient?
Well, I mean, we try to support them with in-kind services when they're requested.
Right.
But we don't provide them with funding or anything like that. So,
Okay.
there have been times, I'm thinking, Bruce, when we were up on, like Hazen Park, for instance, we have a trail that abuts an area that is owned by the land trust, and we were up there doing some clearing, so we just extended on to the land trust to at their request to help them.
Right, okay.
But yes, they are self-sufficient.
Okay.
I would also say going forward, I give a plug for that plan of conservation and development, not just because the chair is in the house, but very important. One of the key documents that the town relies on, and that's going to be updated in 2026. And that has a whole section on recreation. It has a section on open space.
Okay,
So that will address open space acquisition priorities and future trail connections. The other thing we still have to get in front of the council is the forest management plan. And we've just been so busy with other studies and activities and digesting all the ARPA money that we haven't had that in front of you yet. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to see how many detailed recommendations there are for each of the, forest recreation areas we have. And it actually gets into the detail where it makes recommendations based on the stand. So particular forested areas within those areas. So, maintaining the trails, signage, removal of all of that growth that we don't want
Right.
there, non-indigenous stuff. So we'll be sure to get the forester to come in to talk with you about that. So I think
That
the
makes
other,
sense.
the trail areas are well covered in other documents.
Yeah, and just to kind of echo what you said, Dan, and to pass along that message from Bike Walk Avon, I think you're right. The concern from that advocacy group, and just once again, for the record, I am someone who sits on there as a liaison, I think, as a voice. And their concerns were, that we maybe missed a chance for efficiency, and maybe and I don't know what we're doing and the way we're doing it is working. Our trails, I think, have never looked better. And when I say trails, I mean both our hiking trails and our Farmington Heritage Trail. So please, I'm going to use trails just as a generic term. That our trails are being looked over by quite a few people. And I think their concern was, well, who is that person that is the go-to person for that? And I don't know if that's been clarified underneath Rec and Parks or underneath Public Works or underneath town in general, or underneath town council, and my response to them is, well, yeah, kind of all of it, and I guess through the mash of however, the straw that stirs the drink, it gets done. Right.
It depends what the issue is.
Right.
And as the trail, it's a road, right? So as time goes by, you're gonna have more route incursion, you're gonna have, repaving and resurfacing and all this stuff. So yeah, clearly that falls under us.
I think it's worthwhile to bring up though that, and we can talk about this more when we get to the capital improvement for Rec and Parks, is that last year we had in the Rec and Parks PowerPoint that there was 33,000 requested for not only the pavilion, but also trail development and maintenance. And I didn't see that this year. So I'm just interested when we get to the, that presentation, if somebody within either DPW or Parks and Rec or the town is going to set aside money for trail development and maintenance.
Do you mean the pavilion, down by Public Works?
Yes, the Arch Road one.
That is covered by, I think, a deep grant.
Yes, but I mean, when we presented it, when it was presented last year for capital and the presentation,
Right.
Originally we didn't have that grant. So it was that 33,000 was going to be including that pavilion and trail maintenance.
I don't think it ever got approved. I think that gets taken out of the
It's just
budget.
more of a question of like, do we going forward have somebody that's requesting funds to be set
Right.
aside for trail maintenance? Because the Land Trust and Bike Walk Avon and Norm, whichever group he falls under, do a lot of maintenance on their own with DPW also. So it's kind of like, it gets done, but do we have to set aside money for it?
Good questions.
Anybody from the audience care to comment on the Recreation and Parks Master Plan before we move to
Hi, Chris Gracer, Avon. I used to be president of Land Trust, so I can speak a little bit to how the town and the Land Trust interact in terms of trail maintenance. Mostly on the Land Trust land, the Land Trust mostly maintains that. Occasionally, Department of Public Works has worked on blazing some of that where town land intersects with Land Trust land. So, and occasionally we've asked, as Brandon has referred, the town has done some trimming back and maintenance on the trails, but that's, sorry about that.
That's okay.
And I did submit, just as, I did submit comments on Parks and Recs, and that may fall under, as you said, it's kind of muddy where this would fall in. But I did comment that on, especially at Fisher Meadows, the amount of invasive species there has basically overtaken the land there. And so I said, I think there would be a need, and maybe the town forester would comment to that, the need to look at that and determine if what could be done to, maybe work with volunteers to do some controlling in that area and somehow figure out a management plan. So that was something that I submitted to Parks and Recs when they first asked for comments on the Parks and Recs.
Okay.
So I know the forest management plan does go into a couple of very detailed plans on how to get rid of invasive species. And if I recall correctly, they do say it is a Herculean effort to get rid of some of those spreads of multiflora rosa and burning bush. And through various means, some of which require hands and some of which require some spray, you effectively try to get rid of it. But I am in agreement with you. I think that walking through
The scope is huge.
yes, it is.
So I certainly recognize the challenge.
Yeah.
But I think it would be, there are concerned citizens in the town who would love to hear more about how the town plans to, thoughts that the town has about it.
Thank you.
Am I misremembering that we have a grant, that we applied for a grant for invasive species remediation?
No,
It was.
I think we looked at it and I don't
Like something
remember why, but I don't think
okay.
it was a good fit. We are meeting with Eric Hansen from Ferrucci and Woolacke, who's our forester, next week to discuss, there is a grant opportunity out right now for invasive species removal.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a meeting to see if we can put a project together,
Okay.
see what we might be able to come up with. So stay tuned.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Mhm.
Anybody else? If not, and are there any, before we move to accept this, are there any other comments from council on Recreation Parks Master Plan? Are we comfortable approving as is? Yeah. Okay, so then I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve accept the Recreation and Parks Master Plan as is.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have the fiscal year 25-26 capital budget presentation coming up next. Started out by Recreation and Parks. Welcome, Jen.
Awesome.
Hello.
Good evening. Hello. I'm Jen Filer, your Recreation and Parks Director. And I am here tonight to present the capital improvement projects over the next 2 fiscal years. The first part of my presentation, I'm going to update you on the progress of last year's capital improvement projects. And then I am going to identify the drivers of this year's capital improvement projects. And then I will present the 5 projects for this fiscal year and the 4 for the following. As noted earlier, there were a few of our capital improvements that were presented last year by my predecessor. And at Sycamore Hills, there is already scheduled for this spring the expansion joint caulking. So that is already planned out for the spring. And the 2 Fisher Meadows softball projects, the softball field number 3, and also the batting cages. Those are also in the planning stages. So as I mentioned earlier, the drivers would be mentioned in this presentation. Those drivers for the capital improvement are going to be, as we just mentioned, the 2023 Recreation Master Plan. We have the 2023 Forest Management Plan, and then also the 2016 Plan of Conservation and Development. I would also like to take a moment right now and identify a few other drivers of this capital improvement projects. And that would be the Advisory Group for Recreation and Parks Committee that I work very closely with. I would also like to mention the Town Council and Board of Finance long-term goals. And as a recreation professional, it is our duty to also follow those 3 pillars that the National Park and Recreation Association put in front of us. And those include health and well-being of our participants in our community, equity and access to places and activities, and then also environmental resilience. The projects that I'm about to mention would not be made possible without the unwavering support and the expertise of the talented professionals in our engineering department and Department of Public Works, and also the advisory of our assistant town manager. The first one you have heard numerous times, the Sperry Park softball field. Most recently this fall, the appropriation for that $200,000 grant. We also have the continued support of our Little League, who have already agreed of a minimum of $150,000. And we are continuing to work very closely with them and Department of Public Works on that budget. As of today, what has been done already on that project, the parking lot, the outfield, the infield, and also the irrigation. However, I do want to make mention that we will continue to define cost estimates and make reduces where we can on this project. The second of the 5 that I'm going to present for this year's capital improvement is going to be at our Sycamore Hills, specifically at the bathhouse. So those original fixtures at the bathhouse were from 1999. These bathhouse fixtures are a priority for function of this facility with the health and the well-being of not only our participants, but also our staff. And replacing these fixtures will help alleviate asking so many requests to just manage the leaks. So that would also help our building and grounds be more efficient with their time. And this would also assist us in water conservation.
I can attest to the fact that one of the bathrooms continuously leaks. The sink. Still this summer.
And so, wonderful. The next high priority for our capital improvement is a piece of equipment that is going to help increase our efficiency on our field preparation for our field use. There is an average of 90 man-hours a month and even more at the beginning of the season and to prepare for the fields. This piece of equipment could assist us in a cost saving of 75% less manpower. And not only manpower, but this efficient piece of equipment will also assist us in using 50% less paint. I'd love to now discuss the continuation of awareness of our trail maintenance. Currently, we are outsourcing for the mowing of our trails, specifically at Fisher Meadows and Fisher Farm. And I can tell you, we've spent over $27,000 over the last years outsourcing. Purchasing this equipment will eliminate our need to outsource and help us maintain the trails more efficiently.
I'm sorry, was that, you said 27,000 this past year?
The past 3 fiscal years, we've spent
That's 3 years.
$27,000 outsourcing mowing of the trails.
Thank you.
Yes. And the last for this capital improvement fiscal budget is also related to trail maintenance. Specifically also again at Fisher Meadows and Fisher Farms. This brush mower assists with the mowing, especially of those steep slopes. This piece of equipment will allow us access that other pieces of equipment will not, to help us continue to maintain those trails, removing and mowing of the invasives.
So which steep slope, this is right by the boat launch? Or
So specifically near the new bridge, yes.
Yeah.
Members. There's a lot of steep in that, I don't know if you've had the pleasure of going over at Fisher Farms recently, but there's definitely a lot of those slopes that need continual maintenance, especially as we were speaking of the overgrowing of the invasives, just to help us manage that. And I'd like us to now move on to fiscal year 26-27. With the assistance of our Recreation and Parks Committee, they helped Recreation identify that there was actually not a playscape available to the northeast section of town. And as we all know, the benefits of the playground, they include not only the physical, the mental, but the emotional health of the participants. It also becomes a gathering space for our families. It also improves those social connections and our community cohesion. So this would be an opportunity for that section of town, not just if they have, siblings or if anyone is participating in the baseball, but they could also use that.
I forgot, where in the fields is that going to be, would that be located?
That's a great question. So what we have proposed in the blueprint as of right now would actually be right next to the new softball field.
Okay.
it's on the
So-
southern, like toward the southern edge.
Yes.
I guess my question with that is sort of Barry's kind of a work in progress right now, as well as we don't know what's going to happen with the Board of Ed building or how any potential additional space might be able to be used. So I feel like mentally, I'm always sort of putting like a flag in that. Like I'm not 100% sold on a playscape there either necessarily. I mean, I know this is it's not for this next cycle anyway, because we do have several playscapes in town. So I'm just wondering if there's how much space we're gonna have to potentially use and what might be able to go in there. That I understand the idea of wanting a playscape area in that part of town, but maybe there's, I don't know, something else that, like
A water spray park.
like your
You
water
want your
spray-
splash, your splash pad.
Your splash pad.
I was already piping there.
Just wondering about putting that in as an idea, to see if that might be something that could be potential, something that isn't anywhere in town, but still draw people from all over town to it, potentially. So, I leave that up to interpretation from the master plan, but it would be exciting to have something that we don't have go in there instead of another playscape. Of course, there's cost and all
I
that.
think your point is, we don't know what's gonna happen to the Board of Ed building.
Yes.
Right.
So we might have more space.
Or we
Yeah.
might have or we might not.
Yeah.
So it's just a comment more than anything
Yeah.
else.
I mean, I think what I always hear about the Playscape, I mean, so yeah, there are families up in that part of town who say, I mean, it'd be great because you have the rail trail that goes to it. You can ride your bikes to it and then have a playground to stop at and kids can play on it. I guess you have that at Pine Grove to some degree too. But even more so, it's for the parents
Yeah.
who are there with,
Siblings.
little brother or sister who's not playing baseball or softball and needs something to do.
Yeah.
So.
In a perfect world, what National Parks is trying to get us to do is have a park accessible within 10 minutes of where you live.
I'm not so much opposed to an idea of a playscape. I just would hate to get over our skis a little bit, knowing that we have a building that we know we don't know what to do with yet, and that hasn't been decided. Whether that building is integrated into a plan for a greater plan for Sperry Park, or whether it is wiped off and then we have a clean slate, I don't know. I mean, that's something that Brandon, you had alluded to, that we have to decide in a future session. But I would hate to drop 120K into a playscape and then, we either lose or gain that access to that spot, and then we're not foresighted enough to say we made a mistake and it's too small or too big or it doesn't fit in what we want to see as a plan. I don't know. Then again, it's 2 years old, so
Right.
who knows?
Yeah, it was more of just a,
Comments on it.
Placeholder for money.
Yes, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your
Comments on
input.
Good thought.
As we continue on in regards to the master plan, the engineering department has the capability to support the preliminary planning of the improvements for Buckingham Recreation Area. So that has been identified as an area that we do want to look to see what capacity for recreation can be there. And with our skilled and talented engineering department, they can assist us with that preliminary planning. We're almost there, so thank you. We have a couple more. With that, we have the Upper Unionville Dam inspection and report. And this is done on a per needed basis. However, we do need to prepare ourselves for the emergency action plan may need to be updated. So please note that this 15,000 is as a placeholder in case we do need to have that critical emergency action plan created.
I don't have last year's in front of me, nor do I have 2 years ago. I feel like I've seen this before.
This
many
is
times.
something, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Anthony.
Yeah, no,
My
you're
apologies.
good. No, you're good.
But this is absolutely something that you're going to continue to see, because this is going to need continual inspections, this is going to need continual reporting, and there is going to need potential investments. But this emergency action plan, we are predicting within the next 2 fiscal years. So you will see it again. The last project that I wanted to speak on tonight is part of that broader revolving plan. This is to renovate the clay infield of the baseball and also the softball fields. This is ongoing renovations that's required by industry standards to continue the playability and safety of all of our athletes. So in conclusion, my presentation tonight, I spoke on where we are, our current year projects. I discussed and identified the drivers of these capital improvement projects, and I spoke on the 9 projects over the next 2 fiscal years, which you see here listed out.
I had a question about the robotic line paint machine.
Yes.
I appreciate that you said how many hours a month it takes, 90 man hours a month, and then more at the beginning of the season, that this will provide 75% less manpower used. Do you have an idea, or anybody here have an idea of what a man hour costs? So we get a sense of how this robotic line machine cost compares to what 90 man hours is.
I think that would actually depend on the actual person that is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Welch, is there something that you would like to add on to this?
No, I mean, it depends on the scale of the maintainer that's assigned to the line painting at the time. For the union contract, we up around the $30 mark an hour.
Okay,
So
so do you have a sense of like when we would earn this money back that we put in $50,000 for this piece of equipment?
We'd earn it back because this would allow that maintainer that's currently sitting on a piece of equipment to paint these lines, to go down there to set this machine up, to do other things, whether he's mowing the park or doing maintenance around the park. So it would be a big benefit that way. And one thing that wasn't mentioned too is the overall quality of the lines currently. They lack because we're at the mercy of the ground that we're painting over. You end up with a little bit of a crooked line to begin the season. You kind of get stuck with that throughout the season. So it's more than just the man hours, it's the quality of the line. And it's the ability to take that one guy. The setup time for line painting is astronomical. It's not one guy, it's multiple guys. And it's time consuming. It comes at the beginning of the sports season where everyone's looking to get on the fields. And there's a big push. It's just overall, it's just going to be a tremendous thing to our buildings and ground staff.
And with the reduction in the paint, do we have an idea of how much that would save us?
I don't have that with me, but that is absolutely something that I could research and then share with you at a later time.
You know, I think I have that.
I wrote a memo
Because-
on this.
Yeah, because when Ruth initially brought the idea up, I'm all for something new, but, you know.
It's because they said robot.
You know, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the safety considerations, I mean, you know, but I had a lot of those questions about return on investment, you know, how does this really save anything? So I think we've got a pretty detailed memo we put together, and I'll distribute it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that too, because it's a big ticket item and I'm having a hard time squaring
Yeah.
that, to be honest.
Yeah, in the spring, I can tell you, well, I was just here this fall, I wasn't even here in the spring. But I had the pleasure of going down to Fisher Meadows to observe our talented building and grounds. And I can tell you that the amount of setup, time, energy, measuring, paint, I mean, these individuals were unable to do anything else.
Right, no, I'm
but set up
sure.
these fields. And they have me calling them, you know, this group is ready, this group is ready. This is an initial investment, but this would pay itself off very quickly within a few years.
I think I found the memo.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had a question going back, because I don't know why I can't seem to get this clear in my head, between last year's request, where we are with where the funding is coming from for Sperry. Was any of it approved last year? So last year there was 250,000 for a ball field. Is that a baseball field or a softball field? Did we?
We couldn't figure it out because it kept saying ball field.
So I'm
That's
just,
a great question. So when it was originally proposed, it was going to be a baseball field.
okay, so that is the 250.
And that was presented, but it was not funded at that point. So
Okay,
now where we are is requesting up to the 530. It was originally the 880 predicted for this project.
right.
There was the $200,000 grant that
Yeah.
was received and appropriated. And the memo from Little League
Yeah.
with their
Right.
minimum of 150.
So the 60,000 Sperry Park field prep, is that the only amount that's gone towards, that's the dirt that came over?
Yes,
Okay.
that was paying Spazzarini,
Right.
the contractor doing the Old
Right.
Farms Road project, to bring his, the infill that was coming off of the project, that was, the town owned it to begin with, but to bring it over and to spread it and to bring the field up to the
Right.
right grade so that Bruce's guys could come in and make the field.
Right, so we're at a 530 request for this year.
Maximum 530, but we
Yeah.
will continue
After
to
the-
look.
Yeah, and I would add at this point.
Right.
Because as Bruce continues to, you know, dial in the estimates, that'll probably go down by the time, you know, we're finalizing the capital budget.
Do we have a total of how much Parks and Rec got last year? That's not really,
You got the,
I mean, it's broken out by project. Do we know
Have to
total
go
now?
back to the
Okay.
budget. I
think it was fairly minimal last year because we
Yeah.
were doing the master plan. So if
Right.
I remember correctly,
We were like in a holding pattern.
it was the 2 Fisher Meadows
Okay.
based softball projects, and that was it.
In the caulking of
Oh,
the
yes.
expansion joint
Caulking,
at Sycamore
yes.
Hills. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And for what it's worth, the town budgeted $14,300 in FY '24 for line paint and chalk. So if we're talking half of that, about a $7,000 savings.
For line painting.
And I don't have anything about the staff time, or the man hours, but we can get that and
Okay,
I can send this out. I don't think this ever was finalized, so we'll finalize it.
Thank you.
thank you.
Mhm.
Just to follow up on my comment from earlier, do you foresee possibly next year needing to put some money aside for the trail maintenance and, or do you think that should fall under DPW, or do you have an opinion on where it should fall?
I think that we have an amazing partnership as town departments, specifically DPW, recreation, and engineering. We are ever working together on multiple projects. The big trail maintenance, I did request some equipment that is gonna assist us
Right.
very heavily. Not only will that prevent us from outsourcing, but that will allow us to have a preventative trail maintenance plan that we can actually not only, write out, but actually implement that could assist us. So as needed, Aaron, I predict we will continue to analyze. We will review what our trail maintenance plan is now and then adapt as we see needed.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Good.
It's been
you.
a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Talking us through it. Next up, we have engineering and, welcome Larry. Maria. Yeah. That sounds expensive.
Larry, this was significantly, this weighs significantly more than the.
That's quality and quantity.
There you go. Don't hold it hard. Don't come out of the wall.
Okay, engineering and sewers, the most exciting part of your night. And just a point of clarification, that because I couldn't help it over here, what Jen was talking about, the Unionville Dam.
Yes,
So that is because we own those 2 dams. DEP used to do inspections of those dams, all the dams, as part of their calling, if you will. And several years ago, they made that a condition of every owner's responsibility. So we have to do our own inspections on a regular basis every 5 years. Those dams are considered a high hazard dam. They have to have an EAP. They already have an EAP, but that has to be updated regularly. So that's why you carry money in your budget for that.
Thank you, Larry. See, I told you we support each other.
Okay, so engineering and sewers. Start off with the engineering department CIP requests. The key factors that we use every year as we determine our CIP priorities and requests, start off with public safety, of course, reduce property damage due to flooding, and you'll see that in at least one of my CIP requests. Environmental protection and quality, of course, that's town properties, public properties, and private property. Infrastructure maintenance and rehabilitation, like bridge projects and that sort of thing, oftentimes public requests, and of course, service to residents, as residents call with concerns or complaints. First item on my list for 25-26 is the east-west reconstruction of Old Farms Road. I asked for nothing this year, but I wanted to keep it on the radar because obviously we're in this design phase. As you folks know, we had the most recent presentation in October, which was, I thought, really good. We have money funded, as you know, we've been through this already. We have funds from the LOTSIP program. We have funds from the Community Connectivity Grant Program. And Grace and I continue to work on finding additional grants. In fact, we're convincing about one now called the RAISE grant. It could potentially fund all of the construction. It's a heavy lift, and Grace has already shared with me that she ain't gonna administer it. But anyway, so the point being, that east-west section, which we all know about, that runs with a trail. That's, the design is gonna proceed, runs with a trail from the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail over at Thompson Road, all the way over to Fisher Meadows, and the roadway reconstruction for a part of Thompson, all the way over to where the end point was, just west of Tillotson of the bridge project. So that's a full depth reconstruction and obviously the new alignment. And you folks have heard this song and dance, so I don't need to.
Thank you.
Second item, replace Tillotson Bridge over Thompson Brook. So obviously very close to the same Old Farms projects. That bridge, as I've talked about in the past, it's been on my CIP for many years. That bridge is in serious condition. It's got some abutment issues. The stone abutments have started to fall apart. There have been sinkholes in the pavement on the north side of that. And it's been on CIP. So we have actually got the design engineers are working on the design. We just got our wetlands permit happen on Tuesday night. So what I've asked for this year is the additional funds required to do the estimated construction cost. So last year, $620,000 was added to CIP for this project. This year, according to the engineer's estimate, an additional $660 will fund the construction. Of course, we won't know that for sure until we bid it. The good news is, though, this project is a 50% reimbursed by the state as under the state local bridge program. So the ultimate cost of the town isn't going to be the total funding that I've been requesting over years. And the other thing is that all of the funding, all of the aspects of the bridge, including design, permitting, et cetera, are all reimbursed at 50%. So even the funds that we're expending to date with the design engineers and the environmental folks will be reimbursed at 50%.
So so when you're requesting the money, you have to request for the full amount, but then the town will get reimbursed.
Right, because it's a reimbursement basis grant. Right, and I think maybe you've seen these before, but these two graphics on the screen give you a basic idea of what the current design is going to look like. So one of the things, even though the Tillotson Bridge is a small bridge and it doesn't see a huge amount of traffic on a daily basis, we still wanted to make it aesthetically interesting. You know, it is by Fisher Meadows, it is by Old Farms Road, which has got a lot of interest in terms of aesthetics, obviously. So we're going with an arch structure and what looks like a stone facade. It's going to have timber rail approaches so that it maintains a rural character that is appropriate for the space.
Is that going to have oh God, I hate asking these questions, but is it going to have a similar look to it as the timber rail and steel guardrails along the north-south section?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I love that the sidewalk is on this side where the parking lot is. And I think I had asked this last time. Can we put a crosswalk across to that trailhead?
Yes, as a matter of fact, interestingly, as we had the Wetlands Commission meeting, one of the Wetlands Commission members asked for that very thing as well.
Oh, good.
So it makes perfect sense to incorporate that with the asterisk that we may want to add a rapid flashing beacon there. Mm-hmm. It's not common to try to put what they call a mid-block crossing. Mm-hmm. So if you have a crosswalk at a stop sign, that makes a lot of sense, right? Cars are stopping anyway. When you're mid-block, even though you have reasonably good sight line to the intersection at Old Farms, and obviously to the south is perfect, right? Yeah. We still want to have something that alerts drivers that people are going to walk across the street there. So yeah, that's definitely being considered part of this.
Thank you.
So what would you do so that people would see it coming?
Called a rapid flashing beacon. The same kind of alert system that you see at the trail crossings on Country Club, on Scoville, on Thompson. Oh, and out here, yeah. Okay, next item on mine is the Country Club Road reconstruction / multi-use trail. So my request this year for $50,000 is in addition to the design fees that we already have budgeted for the project. And the reason I'm asking for that is it's more of a contingency plan, because I really think that, particularly as we've gone through design on east-west of Old Farms, the public interest in these kinds of projects is pretty significant. And with that in mind, I want to have money to be able to do more public outreach if that's deemed important. I have a feeling that the permitting for this, even though there's not a lot of wetlands related to Country Club Road in this section, I have a sense that there's going to be some real sincere permitting issues with this. And so I'm just asking for an additional $50,000 just to cover contingency for additional design and permitting fees. We know that project has a pretty significant cost for construction. We've got $3.6 million allocated through the LOTSA program already. We're going to do full depth reconstruction from West Avon Road over to Stillbrook. That's a pretty significant project, meaning it's going to go down to below base level, basically rebuilding the road from scratch. And then from that point to Old Farms, it will have mill and overlay. And then we're talking about a trail or some sort of a multi-use connection point from the library essentially all the way down to the trailhead at Fisher Meadows. So again, another significant project that will take a couple of years in design and permitting.
So, so just get us up to speed to where we are at now. So it was 150 that you got for this to start the process. So how much of that has been used or?
Well, technically zero because
Okay.
we haven't had the kickoff meeting, but we've selected the consultant.
Okay.
And the kickoff meeting is actually scheduled for next week with them.
And then after that, they'll start
After that, they're
designing
gonna
and
start,
billing us.
right, and then we'll
Okay.
have, you'll start to see the public input. I can imagine at least 2, if not
Yeah.
3 public input sessions. We've got, unlike Old Farms Road, where we had only one true abutter besides the town
Right.
property. We've got numerous abutters, including the country club, and they've already indicated concerns about so there's gonna be a lot more moving parts with this one.
Yeah, so you're just anticipating that you wanted the buffer, the extra 50
Exactly.
to be, okay, got it. Thank you.
Next item is drainage issue repairs. So this is something that you've seen on my CIP in the past, and I suspect you'll continue to see it. And this is really placeholder money for those times when we have significant storm events that cause erosion or flooding or whatever that requires more significant support than public works, what public works offers. We've seen numerous cases where there's been erosion. We've got a big project that we're going to talk about later in the agenda having to do this Deepwood to New Road project. It's more significant. But that's an indicator of what's happening with our climate. When you see these more significant rain events, these more intense, oftentimes short duration, but very intense rainstorms that cause flash flooding, cause significant erosion problems. And so that's why we've asked for, we as staff have conferred about this over the course of the years and talked about adding this kind of money as again, placeholder money.
Maybe this will come up later with the other item, just so that I'm clear. So I understand the need to just placeholder money, but the new road, the other agenda item, is not using any of the 250 that you got this year for that? It's like a
Correct.
separate,
That's separate.
okay.
Well, we didn't give them any money last year.
Yeah, we didn't
for
give them
this
last year.
drainage.
Oh, you didn't get
We
any
didn't
last
anything
year?
Last year.
This
It was
is
asked for
drainage.
200,000, but we didn't give anything.
It was a placeholder, and we treated it like a placeholder.
Oh, that's right.
You got
That's right.
overprioritized.
But
I
do you
forgot
think
about
that
that
you'll,
part.
with this
I
new
gotcha.
road project being a separate project, do you still foresee that you'll need 1.225 for the total project of repair of drainage issues throughout the town?
Again, the intent was placeholder. So in the ideal, we won't use any of it,
Okay.
right? And it'll stay in reserve or however. Let's say, for example, that it's approved this year and we don't spend any of it, then I won't be asking for it next year.
Right.
Okay. My understanding from looking at it last year was that you were trying to build a bigger pot of it, up to $1,225,000, and so that we would be doing 200 each year to get to that bigger amount.
I think, I might be wrong, but you might be confusing that with the Cider Brook Road project.
Well,
Because Cider Brook Road, I know is gonna be an expensive project over the long term, and I wanna build a pot.
no, Cider Brook Road had its own separate
Yeah.
chart last year.
So the budget book, we have one project drainage issue repairs, which was 225 per year. And then we also have Cider Brook Road, storm drainage and reconstruction. as a
Yeah, I have
separate
listed them
project.
this year as separate projects, for
Yeah.
sure, and I have in the past.
Right.
Right.
But then there was
that's because
ARPA
that's the
funding too, I think, so that, I
Yeah.
think that's why I got all confused.
Yeah, but I guess that's an unfortunate circumstance of the way we
Present.
present the information through these
Okay.
tables.
Yes,
Okay.
so,
I think the point of this is you don't know when you're going to need
Right.
it until like surprise.
Right.
You have an emergency and you need it. We had this happen a couple years ago over on Eddy Street. We had a really big storm and this was storm drainage. It washed, no,
Sanitary sewer.
sanitary sewer, it washed out. And we came to the council with a request to basically take funds, different balances from different capital projects to put them together because it was such an emergent need. And after that happened, we said, we can't do this anymore. So that's the origin of these requests.
And when you have an emergent need, does 200,000 generally cover it?
It depends.
Like,
I'm trying to get a sense
the
of
answer to your
like,
question is, we
how
hope
big of
so.
a pot do we need
Yeah.
for this?
So like, Grace referenced that project over on Eddy Street. 200,000 wouldn't have covered it. It was a much, that was a sanitary, that was a storm drainage caused problem that blew out our interceptor. Okay, so that was a big
Huge,
problem.
yeah.
And the sewer fund paid for that, actually. I'm not looking for a 1.1 or whatever that number was
Yeah.
in aggregate. That, I don't
Okay,
think that's.
right, okay.
That makes sense.
But that's the way we, that's what. the form
That's
is.
fine. I just kind of like, we're trying to
Right,
get
right, right.
1.25 here, but we also have new road. And so I was
Right.
trying to get a sense of like, how much do we really need
Yeah.
for this? Okay, that's fine. I can
you
cross it
need
out.
like $250,000 on hand at it.
And that's the idea. It's really to
Essentially.
have an emergency fund and maybe 250 or 300 or 350 will be enough for the rest of our,
Right.
Okay.
See, part of the idea is you have your unassigned fund balance, right? So if you have a huge problem,
Right.
any kind
Yeah.
of problem, Storm Alfred, right? Then that's where it falls into that category. So supplemental appropriation from council,
Right.
Board of Finance or whatever, depending on the amount. What I try to do is, and this is kind of an outgrowth of that, is to have some defenses before you have to go to unassigned
Yes.
fund balance, because you don't want to be hitting unassigned fund balance for 100,000 here, 200,000. So for instance, Larry's going to stick around because as a result of last fiscal year, we had positive variances at the end of the year. And one of the recommendations I made, which I had done previously in prior years, was to put an assignment on for capital contingency in the amount of $500,000. And took a bit of a beating for that, you may recall.
Yes.
But it's just for these reasons, because we have a huge footprint between what he's talking about, HVAC at Bill, it's just
Yeah.
huge, hundreds of millions of dollars of exposure. So that's why it's there.
Thank you.
Do we have a capital contingency line right now?
Well, there's an assignment and it's $500,000
Okay, but
existing. And
Yeah.
that's part of what we're going to be accessing with Larry's project later on, or at least talking about it.
Okay, so moving along, drainage on site, reconstruction and drainage on Cider Brook Road. This road rides decent now because of a project that Public Works did a couple of years ago to chip seal the road, so it feels like it rides okay. But in fact, it's one of the worst roads in our town in terms of it has no base. It goes from as narrow as 15 feet to as wide as 22 feet. And our minimum standard is 22 feet, by the way, to put two cars past, right? It needs formal drainage. As Public Works would attend, there's icing that happens up there on a regular basis because water comes down the mountain and it doesn't have anywhere to go. So there are driveways that always have significant icing into the street. It has poor sightline in places. What's really interesting to me about that road is that the residents up there don't complain. That's interesting, but it doesn't make it a good road. And so because it's a heavy lift and because it's really outside of the grant potential funding for like lots of program isn't going to fund that kind of a road. because of that, I've requested funds in the past years, and I'll continue to ask for funds until we get to a point where we can actually do something meaningful there.
Isn't that the old, that's one of the original roads in town, correct? Some of there's a very old house
Yes.
that's up there.
It made sense to me because there actually used to be a cider, the reason it's called cider mill.
There's a cider mill.
There used to be a cider mill that was infamous, right?
Yeah.
In fact, it was right by the bridge that we rebuilt a couple of years ago.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and it just, indulge me for a minute. The owners of that property, it's been in their family for like like 6 or 7 generations.
Right.
And it's a very interesting.
But it wasn't for sale in 2020 when we moved here. So I don't know what happened to it, but yeah, it was on the market in 2020.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it's a cool road.
I've got 2 other future requests that have been on my CIP since I've been here for 17 years, almost 18. And that's because they're, while interesting, they're not a priority, right? One of them is replacing a box culvert on Thompson Road, crossing Thompson Brook. It's down at the end of Thompson. But it was there from Tom Dawkins, my predecessor days. He felt that culvert had the potential to flood and overtop on a large event storm. It's not happened in my time here. The structure itself is not considered in poor condition, but I keep it on as like a long-term something to think about. And then the second item is there is a connector property that the town owns to connect Arch Road to Darling Drive. And I think there was an intention to do that for safety as well as access primarily. We own the property. There's actually a part of a road base there. At one point, there was a more significant interest to make that connection formal, meaning make it a real roadway. I keep it out in my 5-year program just as a placeholder again. If it becomes up again, then you'll see more significant interest on our part to make that happen.
This is a fire road.
It's kind of a fire road right now, meaning I think it's a gated access way, but it's not. If anybody drives on it, I don't know about it.
But yeah, right. This isn't the bridge, the rail bridge that goes over Arch. This is,
So
yeah,
right
I know.
over the crest of my hill from my house, there's looks like a goat. We call it the goat path.
Yeah.
It's big chunky rocks, and you can ride your bike over to not security. Darling. Snakes back there through.
That was supposed to connect all the way through. It was part of the circulation plan. And in fact, before my time, the town purchased some property to allow them to have frontage on Arch Road for a potential access. But as you might imagine, when it came time to actually do that, there was a little bit of pushback about cutting through. So it's just kind of sat there ever since.
Regarding the box culvert, please, I apologize that I do not know what that is. But when they do the east-west part of Old Farms Road, is that something that could be corrected in that planning?
It's
Thompson Road's
it's
on a different part.
it's a different end of Thompson Road.
Okay.
Yeah, and a box culvert, for your
Yes,
information,
please.
is, some people would think of it as a bridge, but usually they're a precast, meaning they're made in a factory and they're brought to the site and they're assembled at the site rather than a bridge, which might be, built at the site in pieces.
Is it kind of like those really huge tunnels?
It can
That you
be,
can
it can
walk
be circular. They're usually a box, right? So they're usually rectangular.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's my engineering stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Launching right into the sewer stuff. Again, same basic criteria in a sense. Public safety for sure, environmental impacts obviously play a role. Sewer facilities plan, so we have a sewer facilities plan that was updated in 2006, and that's become more or less our guiding document. Development interests, infrastructure maintenance and improvement. We just finished the Route 44 pump station is a good example of that. That's obviously existing infrastructure that we maintained and improved. And then public requests, that mostly falls into the play where we're talking about lateral extension program. One thing that's important to note, when I talk about the sewer project budgets, it doesn't affect the tax levy. We've been fortunate to have a very healthy sewer fund that's able to fund virtually all of our sewer projects to date. First item on my list is what I call the Farmington Interceptor Replacement Project. So as you know, we don't have a sewer treatment plant here. We send our effluent to Farmington, Simsbury, and Canton. In the Farmington sewer shed, that's what we call it, that area of Avon that's served by Farmington. Our sewer flows through two pipes into Farmington. The larger of the two, the main interceptor that's called, is a pipe that starts in Avon as a 21-inch pipe, and after it enters Farmington is necked down to a 12-inch pipe. So you don't have to be an environmental scientist or an engineer to know that that probably doesn't really make a lot of sense. As it happens, according to Russ Arnold, who's the Public Works Director in Farmington, under heavy flow conditions, what that means is heavy flow is when there's a lot of rain and it's the middle of the day when people are home, and under heavy flow conditions, there are manholes in that part of their property that surcharge. So surcharge means that instead of the effluent staying in the pipe, it actually, there's more water than the pipe can handle, and it starts to creep up into the manholes. So why is that a big deal? It's a big deal not for the manhole, but it's a big deal if you have a pipe that's below where the manhole level is in your basement, because your basement will flood with sewage. Nobody wants that.
No.
Anyway, the bottom line is we have a responsibility as part of our intermunicipal agreement with Farmington. We have a share in the cost of that, of every part of the their sewer system that touches our effluent and vice versa. So that interceptor pipe, that 12-inch pipe, needs to be replaced. I've requested this year an additional $50,000 to hire a consultant to do what I would call an independent audit of the pipe and the contributing flows into that pipe. Avon's flows are not the only flows that contribute to that pipe. There are Farmington flows. And then to assist us with the design for the replacement of the 12-inch pipe. And then my 26-27 request is an engineer's estimate, or my estimate actually, to do the actual replacement of that 12-inch pipe in Farmington of $850,000. So what the place that I'm talking about this, I know the map's probably a little difficult to read, but what I'm trying to show here is on the north side of the map, you see a line that kind of does this diagonal thing, and that's the town line. So Avon is north of that and Farmington is south of that, and I've shaded the area where the 12-inch pipe exists. That's the pipe that we either have to put a sister pipe in, work some kind of a design to do that, or actually try to replace that pipe, which is pretty unlikely, frankly, because replacing an interceptor pipe would be a very challenging project because you can't tell people not to flow the sewer during your construction season, right?
So are you trying to replace it with a 21-inch pipe?
Most likely it'd be 21-inch pipe.
So what do? You just build it and then you switch over one day?
That's probably what we'll do. Or we'll design it so that there's actually two pipes that carry the effluent.
Oh, okay.
Continue to use the 12-inch pipe and maybe do an 18-inch pipe. Maybe that will cover.
Oh.
So that's the kind of thing that 50,000 is going to help me to determine, is like, what is the most cost-effective way to solve the problem?
If you don't have the independent auditor, who determines that?
Me.
So not Farmington.
Farmington will, because they love to have hands-on, and they're obviously going to want to, they're going
It's
to
on
need
their
to be
hands.
involved with the
Yeah.
construction in some respect. Yeah, they'll definitely review what we do, but we'll do that.
Well, they're paying for half of it too? Did you say that?
Oh, they won't.
No.
No, we'll have the lion's share in the cost of it for sure. There's only two neighborhoods that I know of that contribute flow into that pipe.
From
So-
Farmington.
In Farmington.
Yeah, okay.
So it seems like the price maybe went up from last year. Is that just
Most definitely.
because it's another year gone by?
Yeah. So in our industry, across the board, that we're going to talk about, the Deepwood to
Yeah.
Newwood project. If we were doing that project 4 or 5 years ago, it would certainly be 150 less, maybe 200 less.
No, it seems
The
like we
construction
keep seeing
industry
that's
has
like
gone
a
through the roof.
repetitive thing that we're seeing in terms of pushing
Yeah, just for the record,
things off.
the difference is $100,000 because we
Yeah.
had to put it off a year.
Yeah. Next on my sewer list is the Farmington Flume meter access upgrade. So we had requested money. I think we got 60,000 last year The intent to do that, for that money was actually to upgrade some of the equipment within the vault, as well as the technology that transmits the data. So what happens is that meter, it keeps track of the flow to Farmington. And in fact, that's how we end up paying our bills for treatment to Farmington. There's two means of telemetry of the data. We get telemetry directly into our SCADA system, and then Farmington does also. Because we used two different vendors at the time that was built, their telemetry is different than ours. Okay?
Of course it is.
Fortunately, thus far, it's been very close, right? But I want to upgrade ours to match theirs so that there is no discrepancy between flow data, and we can, with much more confidence, pay our bills based on their flow rate.
And that's what the
Simple
70
process.
is for?
And then, that's what the 60 was for
Oh, that's
last
what the
year.
60 is for,
The
okay.
70 this year is to upgrade the hatchway. So there's the meter itself, the flume itself is in a vault, a concrete vault underneath part of the fairway at Farmington Woods. So, and it is about 15 feet off of Roaring Brook. So when Roaring Brook floods, which happens not that infrequently, you can't access that meter without, you've got to put on like waders. And it's it's electric equipment and whatever. It's code safe. But if you want to go down in the vault, you have to do confined space entry, which means a tripod, 3 feet, there's a whole thing with that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to upgrade the entire system with a new hatchway and an accessibility that means we can do maintenance things at least on the vault from up above. We don't have to go into the vault. And it just the whole thing is just a much safer environment to do that. So that's why the request.
It's basically the same thing we did.
Yeah, I was gonna say down
On the street.
Yeah. Look, I'm learning.
I know there was something between Avon Farmington and the calculation of what percent we
It's a couple of years ago.
had to, right, what we were responsible for versus them. Is that's completely over, right? They're not
Yeah.
still giving us a hard time?
No.
What do we have in our sewer fund in terms of a total amount?
You mean like what's the
I
term?
think it's committed fund balance.
Uncommitted fund balance?
Sure, like with the amount they're requesting, how much do we actually have to pull from?
I don't know the exact number, but I can tell you it's somewhere around 3.2 million.
Okay.
And then the next item on mine is infiltration and inflow. 25-26 request is for another 110,000. The intent for that money, as I've done in the past, is to have funds available to fix known leaking problems. So what infiltration and inflow is, clean water that enters the sewer system, whether through a rain event or through groundwater. Okay, and every sewer collection system, I say on the planet, every collection system has some form of I&I. Okay, so you never eliminate it. There's always leaks of some kind. But ours in the Farmington shed in particular are significant, right? It's got part of the older parts of our system in some respects. There's manholes like that. The interceptor that runs down Roaring Brook is literally in the brook. The pipes are under the stream in many places. So we've had a project that we've been working on for years called an I&I study. The I&I study took the big shed and broke it into small pieces and identified the most leaking parts of that. And then we have this SSES, subsurface evaluation system, sewer system evaluation survey that we've been working on. And that's taken those small priority areas and we're trying to actually just find the discrete leaks. That project's about 2/3 done. And we have found some leaks, obviously. There's more work to be done. What I've done on this 2526 request is just to put a placeholder, 110 in there. It's kind of an arbitrary number, to be fair. I don't have a specific project in mind for 110,000. It's if we have manholes that we need to reset the tops on because they're actually leaking water through the brook. If we have, like we did pipelining projects last year, that's the kind of project that this kind of money would be used for. More small discrete projects it take, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 to fix. That's what this money, that 110 is for. And then in the future, the 26, 27 request, like our Farmington shed, the Simsbury shed has, when it rains, when we get significant rain events in particular, we see our flows to Simsbury double. So we know we have leaking parts of the system, just like everybody does. But the way to resolve that is to first study it with an I&I like we did in the Farmington shed. So I'm asking for $700,000 in 2627. And then that money is 55% reimbursed by the Clean Water Fund. So even though it's a reimbursement-based grant program, you do get 55% of your money back. So again, money well spent in my thinking.
I have a question. So if it leaks, and whether it's Farmington or Simsbury, we're trying to calculate how much do we owe versus them based on usage. Do we have to pay for that leak, or is that somehow taken out of the equation?
We pay for it in treatment costs. So, if our normal day to Farmington is 450,000 gallons, right? And that treatment plant treats 3 million gallons, we pay a percentage of the treatment plant maintenance, operations and maintenance at, say, 450 divided by 3 million, right? If it rains heavy and that flow goes from 450,000 to 900,000 gallons, obviously the costs at the treatment plant are going to go up because there's more chemicals, it's more, there's a whole, then because their costs go up, our percentages also kind of go up. And so that's how our treatment costs get affected by that. Same thing happens with Simsbury. That's the perfect, the metering identifies how much actual flow does Avon flow into, Simsbury, Farmington, and Canton. So that metered flow number is compared to the metered flow that goes through each of those treatment plants, and that's how the percentage, the percentage is derived from that, and then the costs are actually actual costs.
And so then you're able to determine all of a sudden numbers are going up, then there's a problem. So that
we have effectively instantaneous knowledge of what's happening with flows through our system because of the telemetry from the meters to our SCADA system. Yeah. I leave the lateral expansion program on there, 2526 and 2627. My numbers requested are 0. The lateral expansion program is sewer extension projects. Our most recent one we did was Timber Lane. I put nothing in there because I had asked for monies in the past, primarily intended to be used for Stony Corners Circle area.
US 44 West.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Stony Corners and then the Carriage Drive Highway area. Those are 2 areas in town that were identified in the sewer facilities plan as being relatively high need, and residents had shown interest in those projects in the past. I will say that those kinds of projects take a fair amount of time to actually come to fruition, not from a design perspective, even though there is a significant amount of effort from the engineering staff, but because, to the point made earlier, construction costs have gone up. The way those projects are funded ultimately, even though the sewer fund seeds the money, pays for the monies up front, the residents that benefit, they are the ones who pay for it over an assessment period, okay? And so
So it's not spread through everyone, it's only spread for that neighborhood?
Correct.
Oh.
The people that benefit are the ones who pay for it. That's been our process since before my time here. And it's kind of fair. It's the way it's been done in the past. And, it's just the program that the WPCA has adopted and we've been using. So, whereas we used to do projects that, like my first project here with sewers was Verville Road, and the assessments for Verville Road were somewhere around $8,000 a lot, okay, to put in sewers into the street. The last one we did, Timber Lane, was I think 22,000. So that should give you some idea of what's happened over time, and it's all construction costs related.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point being, I'm not asking for more funds for the next 2 years because I have funds already allocated, not included in that 3.2 million I was talking about earlier, by the way. And so I'm not asking for money. I leave it on here because it is an important aspect of what we do. And part of my CIP projects in general.
And they do have to be timed with paving, so.
We typically want to time it with, Timber Lane was not. We had a pretty significant outpouring from those 10 residents that benefited. Timber Lane was not on the docket to be paved anytime soon. We designed the project to do the sewer install as much off the road as we could, so we didn't affect the paving any more than we had to, because paving's expensive, and the sewer fund is gonna pay for the paving that happened, and we're gonna pay for the restoration in the end of it. So, in the ideal, we mesh with Public Works, we talk about projects that are happening that combine or that coordinate with the pavement management program. We were successful for several, like, Deepwood Drive was one, and Winding Lane was another one. And so we do, obviously, there's a significant advantage to doing that. But these two projects they're not really in tune for that, that coordination. And that's my 2 cents.
Can you give me a sense for, like, I do not tune into WPCA meetings very, very often. Like, to what degree do you talk about the capital projects? I mean, this is what you guys talk about in the regular meetings. You've talked about all these with the WPCA. These all have been vetted to a large degree.
Well, if I'm being 100% honest, I share with them what I propose. I certainly value input, but they don't. I kind of do this on my own.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm not hiding it. I'm sharing with them what's going on with the system, and they're engaged on that. But they don't come to me with project suggestions.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Right. I was just trying to get a sense for, like, from here, does it go back to them and then it's discussed further? But it sounds like it's the other way around. Like, the vetting kind of happens first in the WCCA, and it comes here. Okay.
It's not a formal. I don't do a formal presentation to them like I do with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
All right.
It's a good reminder why it's so challenging to put all this together. Because we've got about $3 million and you've got to cover all of these disparate projects and issues.
Tell me to
Yep.
proceed.
All right, 24, 25, 21. An appointment for the Recreation and Parks Committee.
You have more Public
Did I
Works?
skip
Public Works, we still have one more presentation.
Sorry, Bruce.
Don't make me
Ready to move
So
on.
ready.
Bruce, I wouldn't let him go. All right, I saw you coming.
The sewers put me down. I'm still awake.
Just go to the last page if it helps. Okay, what I thought I'd do was just give you a little bit of background of what we've done the first half of this fiscal year, actually, the first 5 months. Some of the completed projects here. I don't know if you've been into any of the buildings, but the senior center, all the bathrooms have been renovated. In the upper picture, building 2 was renovated completely while they were still working out of that office. The next project is Sperry, and I think we've had a full background from Jen Feiler on that. I just showed some pictures. They're kind of tough to see as they're pieced together here, but the parking lot was all the millings that we had taken off our roads this summer. And as she explained, the irrigation system's in, the infield's in, the outfield's done, and the lighting bases have been installed. This slide shows what we've done for paving to date from July. So we've got a good handle on it. Unfortunately, the weather is changing now, and that's just wrapping things up. We kind of wound down right before Thanksgiving. We're in the middle of Candlewood Lane and Foothills Drive. And when I talk about in the middle of, it's just remaining catch basins that haven't been improved. Our part of the component of the road improvements is the drainage. We'll go through and we'll assess all the catch basins, We'll either replace them from the base up or tops, depending on the condition. So that first column is our component, hands-on. The others are all outsourced. We also crack sealed 2.37 miles of road this fall. I don't know if you've seen it, there were 9 streets we had done. Predominantly the roads that we've paved in the last 5 years are starting to show signs of wear and cracking. So we've sealed those up. Our next slide is our request for next fiscal year. Our list of streets at 1.783 million. Which, you know, if funded annually, would bring us to a good spot. We're roughly 18 million in arrears. To get there 10% a year is kind of what I've been trying to shoot for. You guys have supported this, especially the last few years. And it's really showing signs of improvement in the community.
Can I jump in here? So I see Arch Road on there.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I live on Arch Road, right? And I guess I feel slightly uncomfortable advocating for a road that I live on, but it's also been identified in our connectivity plan as one of those roads that possibility for improvement, right? I know we're starting with Country Club. My question or my spitballing here is, are we missing an opportunity to improve Arch Road with just doing an overlay? I mean, I know it needs it. It's a horrible road. My wife's shocks will.
We spot repaired it over the last couple of years, I think, you know, with just milling certain sections and trying to pave it to kind of Band-Aid it together.
Yeah.
But if you're asking more, are you looking for like a trail or a sidewalk?
Yeah, I mean, obviously sidewalks come with a lot of baggage, and I guess maybe the multi-use trails off the side do as well. I do know that I have had significant input from the community groups, say Bike Walk Avon, and I do hear it from my neighbors quite a bit about Arch Road. And I know just we had just a near miss with a very unfortunate accident there at the bottom with a bicyclist. I know in the past we've not put in rapid flashing beacons. And I also know that people speed down that road at 50 some mile an hour. I mean, we can get the chief in here to pull out the data from those radar triggers that they have there. That road is becoming more and more a cut through for people.
Yes.
It is a straight line road, and they use it as a straight line road.
GPS will send you that way.
Yeah,
too,
and
to
so
avoid 44.
And to avoid country club sometimes.
Yeah, because it does it like from where I live,
Yeah.
which is but I feel like I'm closer to 44, but it'll send me on Arch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, being someone who observes it daily, I know it needs to be done, but I know the cost of what it would take to improve that road with traffic calming measures or a multi-use trail, so that the neighborhoods that pool towards Arch Road would be. I mean, there's people who live a quarter mile from the Heritage Trail who can't walk there and have to take their cars there because it's not safe. There's DPW workers who won't walk there because it's dangerous. So I'm being an advocate for what could be done with
I
this.
think you're right. I think after the connectivity study, I think a lot of us thought as projects came up that were identified as these main arteries that could be connected,
Yeah.
we would take a look at what we could do if we're already paving at that point.
So I can tell you moving forward that, with that plowing study, and the result was that we were gonna make the travel lanes 10 foot in width, giving you additional shoulder room. Now, I don't have my pavement management plan to tell you the overall width of the road.
Right.
And what the travel lanes are they currently 10 foot now, or are they 11, 12 foot? So with that, we can help kind of visually make it look like it's a skinnier road than it really is. And that's our intent moving forward. Nod Road is one that we'll be doing next year, and it's the same thing. There's a lot of fast cut-through traffic there, and that road's wide enough. I think when we start reducing the lane width, you're gonna see, one, you're gonna have safer alleys for pedestrians or bicyclists. And two, I think people are gonna say, wow, this road, I thought it was, a lot wider than it is, it hopefully will calm some of the people that are driving above the speed limit.
So what did the connectivity study say for Arch Road?
It identified it as one of those roads that would, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who has deeper access than I do or a better recollection, that it was identified as a road that would benefit from a multi-use trail. Now, that's my recollection. I'm not sure the exact details of it. I just would hate to say that, are we missing an opportunity to make the road better by just doing that simple mill and overlay? Obviously, it's not a full depth reconstruction kind of thing, but knowing that there are tricky spots on it, I don't know if it requires a closer look at saying, adding rapid flashing beacons into there. I know adding stop signs to roads is a headache and requires significant push. And I don't even know if stop signs on Arch are appropriate. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, have we looked at Arch Road as carefully as we could?
I think that's a broader question, right? Like there are clearly certain areas of town that have been identified as places that would benefit from having more pedestrian-friendly access. I think you could make the argument, and I think that I imagine the connectivity plan did, that Arch is close enough to, the trail, the center, to connecting to sidewalks on old farms, that it is one of these kind of logical places. I would think that Roaring Brook School is also another one, lovely Roaring Brook Country Club area. So it's like the broader question is, when do we make the decision to go for the grant funding when we're going into one of these projects? And is it like, are we better, was Country Club so far along that it was a better candidate for going for grant funding? Are we, do we have a better chance of approaching this as packaging several of these areas together and something that we bring forward to the community to, get input on for kind of like high value pedestrian ads? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, so an important thing to keep in mind about all of this procedurally is that I really haven't done anything with this yet. So this basically comes in, and my philosophy always is that I want the council to see what the department heads are looking for, right? So I don't take anything out, I don't add, subtract, nothing. You see it direct. So now, we've talked about exactly how to do what you're talking about, which is we have an overlay, particularly when it comes to the pavement management program. And Arch Road is a good example. There are other roads that are good examples that have been identified specifically in the plan as connectors and being areas for additional special treatment. So what I am going to do after, getting the raw proposal from Public Works is I'm gonna have to take all of this capital budget stuff and try to like figure out, all right, what do I know absolutely has to be done? I've got to prioritize. I can tell you right now for the pavement management program, most of the funding for this is going to come out of the assignment on fund balance that was approved at the end of last year, which we've got 1.9 something million bucks. We've got a lot of money that we can use. But then I'm going to be talking with Bruce about, all right, so let's overlay the pedestrian, walkability master plan. Let's see the roads that you have on your list for next year and how does that impact what we want to do. So there may be some roads that if we think there's grant funding that might be available, well, we may have to like have that wait for a little while and, pursue a grant to offset some of the cost. It's that kind of just priority setting that we have to go through. But that it's important that that council recognizes like there's an additional lens now, there's an additional overlay. We've got the pavement management plan, we know what that recommends, but now we've got to put pedestrian master plan over it and see, which of these roads has been identified for benefiting from additional improvements.
Right, I think that's what we're saying, is what we want, so that's good.
I have a question. Is Arch an easier road to tackle as far as abutters and maybe the land itself, fewer complications? Is that easier than Country Club?
Some tough abutters on Arch.
111 is a tough one.
It's a combination of that and Joe's at the library on Country Club.
You also, if I can chime in, you also have the Country Club was appropriate for lots of funding because of the classification of road that it is. So the Country Club came to be the way it is because Bruce was gonna do a mill and overlay for that section. We approached CROG as a lots of potential project. They agreed that it wasn't because it was within a criteria that is managed by DOT. And that's, so there was a, if that else thing that happened along with why Country Club was selected. It wasn't just the highest priority because we want to put a sidewalk or something, you know what I mean?
Okay.
The next few slides are just examples of the actual streets that we've identified here. Yeah, we can go through these. I think you've seen these earlier, but they're here. You see a lot of the cracking, delamination, crosscuts, patching, crack sealing. So they all have the attached estimated price with them. Catch up to you. The next part is the Public Works expansion and renovation project. Funded phase one of it last year. We're moving along. We've got the structural drawings done. It needs to go before the zoning board for its approval. I've met with Hiram, we've walked the property, and at some point I'm gonna need to get with engineering and Matt to do a site plan that will accommodate their requirements for approval. So the second phase would include basically to build up. The first was to get the plans ready for construction drawings, to build the addition from the foundation up, basically to create the envelope, the roof, the sheathing, and that would take us, we would get our utilities brought in, our drains, our sanitary, and those accommodations. And then the second phase would basically get us to build that out and renovate the existing part of the building. The addition's about 1,625 square foot, and the existing is 2,600 square foot. My next request is to continue on with the security camera, well, I would just say safety and security improvements within the town. More so at 60 West Main Street, we have the camera system that was installed at the police department, which is roughly 23 cameras. One of my projects, it was done in 2009. Since then, the technology has changed, the cameras are more efficient, they're better quality. Our other systems still are running, but it's not communicating the platform. You can't integrate with other systems now. So my request last year was partially funded. We purchased 2 servers. Those are scheduled to be installed in the next 30 days, one at the police department, one at Public Works. Police department will take their camera systems. They will also pipe in the Board of Eds like they currently have. The Public Works server will continue to monitor all other town properties, the Countryside Park, the library, firehouses, the exterior cameras throughout public, police. And then I think we've got additional cameras that we have to upgrade. I've got new cameras that have to go in the vault. There's 4 there. And we're talking about upgrading the one that's at the Dropbox here. That has a new requirement that's come into play that they need to retain that camera information, I think, for a year. So, more storage. We've got the foundation coming into play. Now it's a matter of building out everything else. And that's what this funding is for.
Is that part of the reason why the request for total funding went up, because of the storage, or also because of the price?
Well, and I think I'd have to go back. I think I got 50% of the funding that I originally requested. So
I think it was a total of 40.
Yeah.
And now it's a total of 60.
60, yeah. No, yes, it did, because we brought on additional camera systems. We're gonna, you're familiar with what happened at a
Yes.
Countryside recently.
Yes.
We've wired the place for the cameras, and everything's tied to the fiber optic project, and it's just like connect the dots, but we're trying to stay in front, and there is additional cost. The servers were split into, we felt that was a good kind of backup. One goes down, the same information will be on the other one, you can access it. It just allows business to be conducted without loss of information. So, yes, you're right. Additional planning. Senior Center. Been spending a lot of time there lately, and I was talking to Jen earlier, I was really impressed because we're looking at the Senior Center just for some of the, I guess I'd call it age due to the 85, 88 vintage. It gets a lot of use. I was really taken back to know that they serve like 600 meals a month. I mean, that's amazing in my mind.
Yeah.
That kitchen is so small. We had a CIP project when Ruth was here to do the cabinets. I mean, you're not doing it, it just would be a waste of money to put those cabinets into that kitchen. It's so undersized. So one component would be to get a plan done, see what would be needed for their current program or future programs. And let's build the kitchen like, it should be. Yeah, I mean, some other stuff I had learned that, roughly 1,800 residents use that place a month. They're in and out of there. And I saw it during the bathroom project. I mean, it is heavily used. There's a lot of program going on. We've been meeting over there to talk about the HVAC project, the AV system that's going in, the ceiling tiles. So I've learned a little bit more about the program and how busy that complex is, you know? So some of the other items that I'm putting in here is the replacement of the exterior doors on both the west side and the main entrance, and the replacement of the foyer doors that are on the inside of that building. Now, I say replacement of the doors, that's the frame, the atriums, they're single pane glass there. The hardware, a lot of it is not code compliant today. So that's one area. Another problem we have is the chimney over there. You can see the leaks. We've had that, since I've been here. I've put the roof on it. The roof, I can't remember how long that roof went before we started to seeing a leak again. We had the chimney taken down a little bit, reflashed around the roof line. Again, the leak went away and they're back now. So we gotta make a decision either. We're gonna take that chimney right down to the base, rebuild it, and like we just did at Countryside, we just took that one down because it was leaking. Or we take it out and maybe continue those windows or build a wall in there to do something to
Is it
make
used?
that improvement.
I mean, it's not used for anything, right?
I don't believe so, no. From anyone I've talked to, no one's ever seen
Right.
that in use. Either way, it's gonna be expensive. So, what else did I have in there? We had some carpet replacement, exterior trim and repairs that really need some scraping and painting on the rakes, soffits, windows. Parking lot exterior lights, those should be updated to LED, as we've done with all our other parking lots. Sidewalk repairs, if you notice the entryway, it's really deteriorating. And any other various ADA improvements, coming out of some of those back doors, you just go onto the lawn, that's against the code. You've got to go to a hard surface, same plane when you leave the building that you step onto. So there's some improvements that really need to be done over there, and I really think it's time. And with the use of that building, you know.
Are some of these doors wood?
Yeah, they are.
So if we replace them, we'd be using something that.
Well, I priced it out for the aluminum. These doors that you see in this whole area and across the way they're designed for like universities, hospitals. They're durable. They're aluminum doors. So we need to keep the aesthetics. I mean, my intent would be to keep the aesthetics the same with the sash, and the atriums, all with the.
Just different material.
Just a different
Yeah,
material.
that's a good idea.
And the proper exit devices and, so.
What do you foresee being in phase one, so that if people asked us what this 250 is gonna go towards versus the
I would
next
do the
250?
doors first, the exterior and the foyer doors. That's gonna save us money too with the, utilities, electricity now. And we'll be switching our HVAC to electric. So it's gonna help us with the temperature control inside the building, security, and the fact if anybody needs to get out. A lot of these old doors are the old bars that you push out. They have sliding bars and they're beyond dated and they're really against the code now. You would never be allowed to put those in a public building. Yeah, so and that's gonna be, that alone, I've got one number that came in, was just under 180,000.
And then maybe you just have enough for the carpet or the soffits and the.
Yeah, I mean, once we get done with these HVAC improvements and the new ceiling systems, you have your AV in there, there's gonna be new lighting in there. It's really gonna stand out when people go to start using it. So refurbish the metal roofs. Really the last few roofs are here at 60 West Main Street. One is this roof, building 1. Building 5, building 6. Building 7 was done when they renovated that area. That was before I got here, so I mean, that was probably done around the year 2000. This is the last of it. There's a roof plan that I've tried to maintain on the page after this, but those roofs are all peeling. The substructure is really in good shape. All the snow guards are falling off. You funded my last year's request of Building 8, which is also known as the gym over there by the police department. We went out to bid, numbers came in higher than we had budgeted. We just went out again. We've got a number that is under our budget. I hope to have that roof going as early as February.
That came in the 110,000 budget? That's what we gave you last year.
Yes. I actually have a meeting at 10 o'clock tomorrow with him to go over the bid submission. But he said it's under the budget, so I wish I could tell you exactly. I won't know till tomorrow.
So the total amount has gone up though, again, also, just
What?
because the total amount seems like it's gone up
Yeah.
also.
I
just
shop this out
again,
every
time.
year when it's CIP
It's just
time.
the cost of,
Please update
Yep.
your.
okay.
So, and actually, we've been really good with this firm. They're under the DAS contract. And they've done building 2 here, which they did a great job with. They made some repairs where the tree came down into the building 6. And now building 8. And they shopped it and they were able to get us in, so.
70 years is really a long time for a roof.
Yeah, the gauge of that steel is not like you would ever see anywhere today. I mean, that's, I got that information from a former town clerk.
It's thicker than normal?
Trying to identify the age of that, you know. We had it treated back in, I don't know when he did the renovation, but I was fairly new here.
08, 09.
Oh, wait.
Was it 08? Yeah, so what they did is scrape and they put a product on there to kind of get it to adhere to that, but that's come and gone.
So you're saying it's thicker than normal?
And what you would buy for a metal roof today, I think they use 26 gauge steel. The only reason I know that, my daughter
Now
just
or
put one on
back
her house.
then?
But you're not replacing it, you're refurbishing it, right?
No, we're removing it all
You're
and
removing it all?
replacing it.
So
whole
it
roof.
used to be 26 and we're replacing
No,
it?
I'm talking about like a residential one. This is a commercial roof.
Oh, okay.
You know what, I have that information, but I don't have it in my head. It's on the plan.
How long do they think we'll get to keep the new roof for?
There's 60 years, I think the warranty is 30 years. I have a $25,000 request in on sidewalks. That's kind of trying to build a sidewalk repair extension. There's, it's 64,000 square feet, 64,000 square feet of sidewalk. They're throughout the community. I mean, those are the sidewalks, you know, library, senior center, to 60 West Main Street. They're in need of some repairs. And these are the areas that we probably just cut sections and replace sections and not remove and replace, you know, an entire length. Those are just a few shots of, we got the sidewalk along the police station come across the pedestrian bridge. We have the entryway into the police department on the right. And that's an ADA accessibility. I mean, they definitely need to be improved.
Does it make sense when we do the connectivity throughout the town to incorporate it into the road as like a wider part of the road rather than a sidewalk because we have to repair all these eventually.
Are you talking about extending sidewalks?
I think my understanding was that in some areas, we would reduce the amount of space that the cars would travel on and leave more room for bicyclists and walkers on the outside.
Yes, so you take basically the gutters of the road. And that's when we were just talking about by reducing the lane
Yeah,
width, that you would get more room on the sides. Now, I don't think you're gonna be able to, you might be able to develop a dedicated bike lane like a lot of communities have done. We'll look at a lot of our roads we've discovered, 'cause when that was coming about, we met as a group and discussed, you know, the pedestrian project, and we started looking at our lanes and our roads, and they're really at 10 feet now. So there's not more room to reduce that, giving you additional. Now, for us to cut a wider road, that could be really challenging depending on what's existing, because you have catch basin system, you have a formalized drainage system under the road and the gutters with catch basins. So if you start extending a road, now you got a basin. It usually is a curb behind it that would now be in the road. So there would be a lot of challenges to do that. I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but it would need to be evaluated. And I'm not sure, I haven't seen a pedestrian sidewalk plan, or we've seen areas that have been identified in the plan, but, you know, like I said, our commitment was we'll reduce anything we can to 10 foot to just try and get a little bit more safety areas on the edges of the roads. But we haven't looked at each street. A lot of these streets that we're doing are just subdivision streets. Your collector roads that you're talking about, that makes a lot of sense because people come out onto them and then go wherever, so.
I have a question about, and I never remember the terms, I know I've asked this before, like trail versus sidewalk.
Bituminous versus concrete.
Bituminous versus what?
Concrete.
Concrete, okay. So there's differences, obviously. Which is more expensive, concrete? And the bituminous, is there something about that, about homeowners not having to, is there a difference in maintenance or not? Or width or size?
Greenway. I think you're thinking of a greenway versus a.
A greenway, okay.
Steve Mitchell always.
yeah,
does.
Steve Mitchell talked about that for Canton.
Greenways don't need to be
Okay.
maintained by owners or something.
Yeah.
So like, what are the options of like, is it better to put in,
It's much better to put in a concrete
it
sidewalk.
is,
Yeah.
just because they last longer?
Yeah, you
even though
get
they're more
settlement
expensive
with
to
the,
maintain and-
Structurally, they're a lot better.
So when we're talking about not overall cost, would it be cheaper to put in, rather than widening the road and dealing with catch basins and curbing and all of that, would it make more sense to plan for
Easier said-
sidewalks?
Easier said than done. Now you have the conflicts of utilities in the right of way.
Okay,
You got telephone poles.
right,
Um,
and homeowners.
Yeah, and also with the right of ways, just because you have a right of way, you never know where they put the road when they, you know, they're within their right of way, but they're not like dead center in the right. You might have 3 foot on one side and 8 foot on the opposite side, because whoever laid it out didn't get it right.
And what's bituminous?
That's like the asphalt,
The black stuff.
Top left.
right, so the top left would be
Yeah.
that, and the concrete's,
I mean, a perfect example is in front of the funeral home on West Avon right there.
Yeah.
Those were asphalt. They were filled with, you know, sinkholes.
yeah,
It just doesn't last in
Right.
New England. You know, you got your freeze cycles and, you know, the rain, if it gets into any cracks. And we've replaced them with the concrete. You know, concrete is probably, it used to be about $12 a square foot. Now it's probably $16.
And what's asphalt per square?
Well, and and it's 5 foot wide, so our sidewalks are 5 foot, so just take that times it by 16 and then times it by your linear footage.
And asphalt is how much?
When you buy the asphalt, depending on how we would put that down, I would treat it like a driveway, maybe it'd be a little bit more. I'd say that's probably I don't know, $3, $4 a square.
Well, thank
And then
you.
you have to rip
There
it
was-
in
yeah.
lines.
Correct it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
Keep
shooting
drilling it
from the
into my head as these
I'm- yeah.
conversations happen.
I'm shooting from the hip, but I think I mean, Larry, you can chime in if you think I'm off base, but,
Thank you.
all right, so now we're gonna move into the fleet funding. I like
well,
this
sorry.
slide, but I'm probably gonna be the last
What?
one. You'll see.
Bruce,
25.
before you move on, so the sidewalk improvement plan does not cover the rail trail though. This is specifically for.
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you talked about budgeting. We have $4,000 in one of our public works divisions to maintain the rails to trails. That's for fence sections that break, that's for any signs, that's kind of light maintenance. We do blow that trail off twice a week. We attempt to keep on that 2 times a week during the months that it's open. And we also have a fund for some of the vegetation, but as Jen said, we kind of all work together. Hey, you got any money left? Is there anything we can have to do the outsourcing? But, you know,
Since you guys brought that up, funding for improvements with trails, I know down there at corner of Security and Arch, there's significant root intrusion.
I
Yeah,
saw that.
yeah, I don't know if that's on the
We,
plan.
we have to do some work down there for the fiber. We have to come off the pole that's heading up Arch Road, heading west.
Mhm.
And we have to run a conduit into we've got a fiber link that goes from there, animal control to fire department to police department.
Mhm.
For this new fiber project, they've got to put in a drop off that pole and come in. So at that time, we'll probably just cut that out and do it ourselves. We made some improvements behind our public works facility. That was all done in-house with our guys.
Yeah.
We paved it.
It looks nice.
Yeah, there was a lot of, we reshaped it, we piped the trench, just cleaned it up a little bit the best we could. So,
And you got a pollinator garden there now.
Yes.
yeah, I never walked out. Did it come up?
Yeah, she's doing it again. I mean, she's got a
I
real love for
admire, it started as a group and she was the only one that showed
Yeah.
up. And she watered it and she did what she said she was gonna do.
And she said that on the milkweeds there, she showed us a picture that underneath milkweeds, she turned it over and there was just hundreds of
Oh, wow.
monarch eggs.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, like, yeah, the birds didn't do away with them. There's going to be monarchs hatching there. So,
Good.
anyway,
So as I said, this slide's probably gonna go away, but we brought it out at, we were having a tough time trying to get our fleet up to speed. But you can see the last couple of years, you guys have been right behind us on funding us, and it's great. And it really shows. We've gotten the last couple of years just what we've asked for, and we try and be as reasonable as we can and efficient with our equipment as we can be. And you guys, Brandon, and the town manager's office and the council and finance board have supported us. So thanks for the support. You won't have to look at that slide again. These are the 25-26 requests, and I changed it up a little bit, and I think, can we go forward one? So if you look at the list, the narrative, it's like we've changed it to a light duty and a heavy duty instead of a 14 AV, 1 a ton. I've been here 20 years, I still don't know what plate is what vehicle.
That's
That's
what Barbara and I were doing the whole time we're going through. We're like,
Which one's
yeah,
which?
so 17 maybe.
So what I did is try to make it simpler. There's 2 light duty trucks. One is a highway and a B&G. They've standardized between the divisions. The one on the right is the Board of Education's, the kind of call it a flatbed. And there's a difference in pricing there because, ours has a dump body, got a sander in it. Theirs is just, like I said, a flatbed truck, both light duty. So when you go back and start looking, I have no heavy duty trucks in this year. There's one coming out next year. But you'll see it by division. Highway has a light duty, and then B&G has a light duty, and the Board of Ed has a light duty. So 3 of those trucks are what we're requesting this year. We can move on to the next. The other part of the fleet is an excavator and a trailer. So we're able to catch a picture of the excavator and the trailer, one photo, 20-ton trailer. That mini excavator, these are really a key to getting all this road improvements done. It's a very important component. We have a regional one, which is hard to keep in our possession because Farmington, Canton, Simsbury, Granby, Suffield, all partake in it and everybody wants it in the summertime. We purchased another smaller excavator for our tree crew, which helps us become more efficient there. Takes one guy off the tree crew and we can handle bigger sections of trunks and limbs and just clean up a lot faster. This one has lost the engine once. It's time for a replacement. We put tracks on it once. Cylinders, it's tired. Looks nice because we take care of our stuff, but it's tired. So hence the request to add the excavator. I still would like to keep this one around. Like I said, these are responsible for all the drainage work on all our streets every year. And these guys changed out last year. I don't have this year's facts, but last year they changed out 169 catch basins. And it's really remarkable how good they've become. And, you know, we got 2 crews working. We try and have 2 crews. And that's just the streets we've identified. We also have catch basins throughout town that fail. You'll see sinkholes around them. The sand sieves into the drainage system, which creates a sinkhole outside around the catch basin. So, you know, there's 15 to 20 of those a year that they're doing just as failures. So we're asking for that.
Can I just go back to the light duty?
Yeah.
So we have 3 and we're replacing all 3.
Oh, we have a lot more than 3. We're replacing 3.
So you're replacing 3 that are just the oldest of
One
the
belongs
fleet.
one belongs to the Board of Ed.
Right.
So our fleet, we're responsible for the town of Avon's
Right.
fleet. One of them is going to the Board of Education. One is going to the Building and Grounds Division.
And one is for
one is
highway.
going to the Highway.
And these are
Division.
just to replace 1 for 1 in each of those departments. Right.
Yeah, and they are replacements. They're not additional trucks.
And just because of age and.
Yeah, there's 100 and I have some notes here on some of them.
That's fine. I just wanted to know that they were replacing.
Yeah,
It's not,
they're all in excess of 100 and plus thousand.
Okay.
And by the time we get them, you probably throw out another 10 to 15,000, you know.
And then will you keep them until?
No, they'll be sold on surplus. We have a public surplus auction house that we belong to, and then.
So we'll get maybe something.
Oh, you'll get revenue.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be surplus.
Thank you.
And again, this just recaps 5 years. And really, the important one is going into next year is, you know, the excavator trailer and light duty dump on the highway. 1 light duty dump for the B&G division. And then the facility improvements are $1,085,000 between the DPW phase 2, the metal roof, senior center, $250K and $20K for the cameras.
And it's 2 police vehicles, right?
2 police vehicles, yeah, excuse me. They're usually at the top too. And there's no pictures, but
No, that's
they're
okay.
they're Tahoes.
Yep. I mean, this is like, we're
do this
trying to
every year.
renew
We do
the
this
fleets every year, pretty much.
And I'll tell you what, it's
Well, it looks like
really,
the price
it
is going
shows.
up,
It
like everything else.
It shows everywhere. It shows on the mechanics for all the, you know, the maintenance because of the age of the vehicles.
Yeah.
It's hard to use rust as an excuse now. Because we're staying with the mileage. We're actually being, I would consider the town very proactive on maintaining its equipment, its vehicles and equipment. And it shows in the end with the results, you know, you get stuff that's tired and broke, it breaks, now you've lost a day of, you know, production. 2 days, 6 weeks, I mean, you never know.
I can vouch for the compliments that you and your crews get in the maintenance of the trails and the improvements down there at DPW. It looks really nice. It's noted. The addition of the parking lot and the Boy Scouts little
Yes.
placard that they have there. I mean, people show up and that, I mean, you see how popular that.
You
that
build it, they come.
Exactly.
It's used, that parking lot's full.
Yeah.
Pretty much all summer, even fall too, and somebody was pulling in there today with the snow on it, and they were walking or running.
Yeah.
And we're gonna continue to make improvements on that last section, we're gonna hard pipe it, we're gonna get some material to fill, but those are filling projects, you know, when you get caught up on something, we'll just go there.
Cool.
Can I ask a clarification question on the roads being done? When a road is fully being done, which part does the town do of the road? In terms of like, is it the main part of the road? Is it the curbing? Is
We
it
do it all,
You do everything?
100% complete. Yeah, 'cause, I mean, the last thing, when I go back and change a catch basin at a new paved road and saw cut around it.
Right.
So our responsibilities in-house, all the catch basins, cross culverts, curbing removal, curb the restoration behind the curb when they've paved and come back and seeding. That's what we're responsible for. And also the highway division is responsible for coordinating all the milling and paving. And to get that together is quite a chore because you got a miller that's on his schedule and you got a paving company that's on their schedule. You like not to leave that road milled and not paved for, the shortest possible time you can. Then you're dealing with the weather,
But the paving company is separate from the town?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, I guess that was part of my question.
Right?
Pardon?
I
The
guess-
milling and the paving,
Two separate contractors.
Okay,
not the town.
okay.
We will do small paving jobs, like behind the salt shed there where we made the improvements. We've done some parking lots, we've done some roads, where a spot, we did Arch Road up by, I don't know what that side street is, by Scott's house.
Oh,
I don't remember either. Anyways, yeah, we'll go out, we have a 2-foot miller machine, it's basically made, they call it keying, where you cut perpendicular across the road, so when they come to pave, when they terminate, they got a full depth there. But we use that to kind of get a little bit more than we can to try and, for some of these roads that really, we gotta do something to keep it in place for the next year, so. All set?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
all right, thank you.
Oh, and just for anybody's,
Edification.
sure. I had pulled what was this called?
Pavement management?
Pavement management program, and we had looked up what price we needed to be paying annually to keep on track, and it was 1.7 million.
We're at like 1.8.
Yeah,
It was 1.7 million last year.
yeah, yeah.
Presumably it's going up, just like everything else.
Like everything else.
Okay. Appointment for the Recreation and Parks Committee. I think we are just gearing up to get ready for that, but we haven't done it yet, so I'll take a motion to table that one.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Eagle Scout proclamations. These are happening on January 5th. I'm gonna try and be there, but if anybody else can be there, then let me know. I'm happy to share responsibilities.
Can I just say that Daniel DeCunha, actually, his Eagle project, I was his sponsor.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I reached out to the Eagle Scouts to see if they could help with the outdoor classroom at Pine Grove School.
Yeah.
And so Daniel and his dad came out and I showed them like what we had already done in the outdoor classroom, and he built an ADA accessible bridge over like a little stream area that's sometimes dry, sometimes wet. And he built a nature science table where if the kids collect things on the trail, like they can put it in like these little glass cabinets, and we already have some owl pellets out there if anybody's interested. But that was Daniel. His Eagle Scout project was the Pine Grove School Nature Classroom.
Very nice.
That's great. That's great. All right. So let's see, let's go ahead and I'll read the proclamations that we have for them. So December 5th, 2024, Utej Kalu, William Newsom, Keaton Badranath, and Daniel DeCunha. Permit the town council to join your many friends in offering our heartiest congratulations upon your achievement as an Eagle Scout. This is indeed an appropriate honor for the many years you have spent as a Boy Scout. Through the years you have spent in scouting, you have had to show qualities of leadership, integrity, loyalty, and service to your troop, community, school, religion, and your friends. The high standards of the Boy Scouts of America are well known, and your elevation to Eagle Scout will certainly attest to your fulfillment of their high standards. Congratulations on your outstanding achievement. Dan Paulina's and the rest of the Avon Town Council. So congratulations to them.
Yes.
Congratulations to all of them.
We're thankful to them.
Yes. I'll take a motion to approve the proclamations.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the regional Juneteenth 2025 event. So I did sneak something into your packets earlier, 24, 25, 31.
Is this it?
Yes.
Okay.
This is just
I had a question. Is this Juneteenth?
yes.
Now I
yes,
know.
it is.
Juneteenth.
And I guess, yeah, so this will be the third year. They're doing this Juneteenth regional celebration. That's always been a big part of this story. It's one of the few like regional events that we do. The idea being, if you pull resources and pull people, like enough people together to have a good event. And I think you see that. And in this How Do We Do slide, you see we went from 200 to 300 people in 2023 to 1,250 people last year. I mean, I was there last year. It was great. I saw.
That's a big
Yeah, it was great. It was
The
at
weather
the Simsbury Performing.
Right.
And one of our community groups, Friends for Equity, was there.
Yeah.
They had a table at the event.
Library participated.
The library was there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I ran into Eleni, I ran into Senator Seminara. It was great. There was all kinds of people and music. It was a blast. The way this is funded is through $2,000 contributions from participating towns. My understanding is that Simsbury, Farmington, and Granby, I think, have already approved that. So I'm here, I guess, to propose, or I can make a motion that we go ahead and approve the use of $2,000 from the Community Grants Fund for the use of funding Juneteenth 2025. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on this or questions? I could answer. So if not, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It really is a lot of fun. I hope to see you all there.
And the Lego statues were really impressive.
Yeah.
The kids got a kick out of that. They had Marvel superhero Lego statues.
Was there Lego building or was it more a
I
display?
think they were more a display.
It's like a- yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
they
a-
had like 4 or 5 of them.
I think they had some interactive components, so where they had to kind of like send the little kids over and get them off your back for a little bit.
Oh, that was my son's favorite thing was Legos.
Okay, we have the 24, 25, 32. This is the set a public hearing for the approval of a conservation easement for 275, 279 West Main Street. This is part of the planning and zoning application. Was a transfer of ownership of this parcel.
Which parcels are these?
Yeah, I was trying to
This
picture
is
this.
this is the Shake Shack.
Yeah.
Where the-
Oh.
The old jeweler.
Yes.
Sandwiched in between
Oh.
Walmart and
Mark's Barbecue.
Yeah, most recently it was the red and white barbecue building. Is that the one? Right next to the
Yes.
Michael's?
Between Michael's.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I
so
thought. Okay.
as part of the planning and zoning process to get the Shake Shack approved, as a
Okay.
condition of approval, the commission is requiring the conservation easement over the area that's shown on the map.
Mhm.
And it'll be in favor of the town, so before we can accept it, we have to have a public hearing.
And so then the Shake Shack and everything would be left to go in this smaller
Correct.
section.
Yes.
Which is bigger than the section that's there now, that's used now. Is that what the difference is?
Bigger than the section that's used now. There may be some additional clearing.
Okay.
Looks like there would have to be, because I don't think the lot is cleared that deep right now.
Yeah, I feel like there's like actually 3 businesses. Hey, Chris, you're here. Were there 3 businesses being proposed to go on that? Is it, okay, I'm thinking of a different project.
Just Shake Shack.
Just Shake
yeah.
Shack. Okay.
I don't think I've ever been to a Shake Shack.
Yeah.
So it'll be
Oh, you're
interesting.
missing out.
Yeah, try it.
So yeah, so right now we're here to schedule a public hearing for January.
Is this during our January town council meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, kind of like today.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So take a motion to schedule the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We have transfers, appropriations from ARPA projects. This is like cleaning out ARPA pretty much. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes. So we have identified projects with outstanding balances that can be reallocated. So we have, there's 2 supplemental transfers of appropriation for you tonight. One is for town project balances totaling about $21,000. And those are coming from the bike ped project had a balance, town hall networking project had a balance. The 3/4 ton pickup truck for public works had a balance. Sycamore Hills playscape replacement, there was a small balance in the upgrade of the senior center AV system after we awarded the contract. Technology refresh, and all of that would be going to pavement management. And then the second resolution before you is the balances of 5 of the Board of Ed's ARPA project requests. Most of them had to do with, there were IT improvements, the digital mobile radio system, some HVAC projects, and the library carpet replacement. There's a total of about $66,000 in project balances, and the Board of Ed has requested that these be transferred to a new project to upgrade building automation systems for their HVAC at various school buildings. And so there's a memo from Susan Russo and Miles Altimus in your packets. And essentially what a building automation system does is it allows, it's kind of a central clearinghouse for all of the HVAC functions for the school and for the district, and allows the systems to be calibrated more closely for occupant comfort. You can adjust things remotely. You can have Miles can log into a system and remotely calibrate the various HVAC systems in the buildings. And it will be helpful in helping the Board of Ed to comply with the new indoor air quality standards that we've been hearing a lot about in schools. So this funding will cover projects at the high school, Roarenbrook School, and Pembroke School.
So it's a new project.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know the total cost of the project?
I think 66,000 will cover these 4 items. I don't know how much each will cost. And it could be that they need to kick in some additional money from their operating budget, but this will get them started.
So the 4 being the AHS, those 4 at the bottom.
Yep.
AHS, AHS, RBS, PGS, okay.
Yeah.
So you said Avon High School and the 2 grade schools, but What about TBS in the middle school?
I don't know if those need to be done or if these are the higher priorities.
Okay.
This is, I would presume those may need to be done also, but they are kind of, they saw this as, the opportunity to get some of this done.
Or maybe because they need those electrical upgrades at the middle school.
Yeah.
They can't do this until they do that or something like that.
I think at the end of the day, they were looking at their project balances. They know this needs to be done, and they're trying to do what they can with the money that's available.
And this will cover those fours, so.
It will, and if it doesn't, the balance will come out of their operating budget. They'll make it work.
I appreciate the $2 from the ARPA grant.
Wait, where's
The
that?
$2 transfer.
We're really shaking the
Yeah.
couch cushions.
Where's that?
So there's a $2 transfer and
Everything
then a
is accounted for
$34
as it
transfer
should
and
be.
a $2 transfer.
Oh, there it
I
is.
just appreciate Tom's accounting.
Absolutely.
But other than that, most of these projects have $0 balances.
Yeah.
So
Well done, after all that
pretty
time,
good.
well done.
This is, we're as close as,
Yeah.
$80,000. That's pretty good.
Cup of coffee left.
Yeah.
$2.
Yeah.
Half cup.
Okay, so I guess it's worth adding too, that this needs to happen pretty quickly, right? This is gonna go to the Board of Finance in December
Yep.
and then,
Yep, we're gonna put a purchase
Sail
order on the
right through
pavement management
and-
money, and that will
Yeah.
obligate it. And Miles and Susan are ready. They've got Train engaged we're gonna put purchase orders, and we've obligated it. We've
Right.
met the intent of, obligation by
Yeah.
December 31st. And then,
Yeah.
we'll do it.
okay, so I'll take a motion to appropriate $21,782.17 from ARPA to the pavement management system funding as proposed.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll take a motion to, transfer or appropriate the $66,547.46 from the Board of Ed capital ARPA projects to the building-wide automation systems.
Second?
So much.
All in favor?
Aye. So that's it then for ARPA,
That's it.
right?
Yep.
Down to the pen.
It's amazing.
Hope it happens again someday.
Well, no, not
Well,
really.
no.
Could do without another
I
global
mean,
pandemic.
without the pandemic, obviously.
I knew what you were, I got you.
Well, I remember Brandon saying that's like once in a lifetime in your position that you would see something, money like that come in, so.
With
Yeah.
essentially no strings attached like that.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
So much money.
But it helped out, I mean,
Oh,
we-
gosh.
it's just,
Right.
what we
Yeah.
did with that was incredible.
Welcome back, Bruce.
Yeah.
24, 25, 34, DPW service utility vehicle. You want to give us a quick?
Yeah, I'm just requesting waiver from the policy we have for the procurement. Kind of done our diligence on this. This started out with an estimate from a local Northwest Hills sales manager, which started out good. We added to it, and then there was a delay in the budget, right, with getting a budget approved, which brought us into August. Well, lo and behold, when we started to really get into depth, the service manager, or sales manager that gave us that estimate had just sold a similar truck to the town of Watertown for $132,000. So we had him put the number of 150 on it, just wanted to make sure he had it covered. Well, we weren't matching apples for apples with the truck. One was two-wheel drive, we needed the four-wheel drive. There was some issues with the crane, this one was electric versus hydraulic. Needless to say, we said that's not gonna suffice. We started looking locally, we went to the DAS program, Sourcewell, another source to purchase from. The issue is this vehicle, and I use the analogy, but I'm gonna, it's similar to a fire truck. It's built for its application. These trucks are they're used in fleet arenas, construction companies, a specialized truck that goes out when you have a breakdown, flat tire on a bigger truck, you need to take your plow off your truck to get it towed. There's all kinds of needs for this truck. You know, it has an air compressor on board, it's got the torches on board, it's got the crane on board. It's a heavier vehicle. So locally, I mean, we started in Connecticut, we went out to Rhode Island, every truck, and there was only three. There was a Dodge, a Chevy, and a Ford. They're pre-built. The bodybuilders will take a truck from Ford, whoever they have it in with, they'll build the truck, put it on their lot to sell. Of course, the trucks we're looking at were another $35,000 more because it was 1 year newer in the production year. And, you know, for one reason or another, one was a four-door truck. It had the like lariat interior, leather interior. It just wasn't practical for our needs. The second one was 156,000. No, 186.
No, it's not in there.
Well, it's not on there.
No. They were all over.
They were over $30,000 over our budget. We started looking, just Google searching and trying to find a resource for this. I had a few connections for people that sell bodies to trucks nationally. They work for the big truck builders. They were looking for me. And Adam came across one in North Carolina, the same truck that he was speccing, the same body, hydraulic crane, air compressor. Truck was $6,000 more than we had for funds. He was able to negotiate that down 150. They agreed to hold the truck until we could get, you know, December 6th, basically. If we could get our approval to deviate from our normal process. And, you know, this is a critical piece of equipment for that division, the M&E division. That truck is an old, their current service truck is relatively old. It's starting to rust. It's the oldest truck in the fleet right now, as a matter of fact. So I'm here tonight to just request that you allow us to take a waiver on the procurement and, you know, get this thing up to Connecticut.
Just so I'm clear, it's this says by way of background, fiscal year 25-26 budget includes.
Yes.
That's a typo.
So,
That was
okay,
my typo.
that's what I figured.
Sorry.
So just so I'm clear, there was 200,000 and like 45,000 has been used. So this is like approximately the additional.
No, you're thinking of the next item. This was, the budget appropriation was $150,000
Right.
and the truck is $150,000.
So under the, on my ARPA sheet,
I think there
What
were
am I-
two trucks in there. Two trucks in that one
right,
one item.
right. So it says appropriation spent 45.
Yes, you got,
Okay.
the light duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so there's about 150 left for that.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yes,
Okay, so I was thinking the right thing.
you were.
Okay.
I forgot.
It's getting late. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I'm following the funding like usual.
Is everybody comfortable waiving the bidding process?
Yes.
So I'll take a motion to waive the bidding process for the purchase of the service truck from Rick Hendrick City Chevrolet.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Bruce.
Well done.
Good luck.
Yeah, well done.
Who's going to get it?
I was just.
Yeah, who gets to drive down there?
They're bringing it up for us.
Flatlanders.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right, Larry.
I'm back.
Yep. All right, you gave us a sneak preview of this earlier,
Yes.
I guess. Yeah, okay, all right. So this is Deepwood Drive. It's a disaster, it continues to be a disaster. You're looking for 275, did I see that right? $275,000 out of the ARPA?
No, 375.
375 out of the ARPA, yeah, 375 too. Not out of the ARPA, out of the
General fund.
capital reserve
Reserve.
fund.
Right.
Pay for this. What happens if we don't do this? Like what's the state right now?
The status of it right now is that it's been mandated by Public Works for the last year, but the storms that happened this summer were particularly bad. There was actually 2 events that the water blew over New Road and down into the property that's directly across from that swale area. As it happened, they had just redone their yard and their driveway, and it was like, the lady was crying. It was awful.
Oh, no.
So Public Works came in, we took some funds, we did some sort of temporary repairs, but the swale that feeds that is still, I mean, I would welcome you guys to take a walk, except be careful because it's a real challenge.
No, these pictures are, yeah. And I remember this last year when it happened in the summer.
You could stand in that crevice,
Yeah, these pictures are Deepwood Road.
They're actually, it's really more New Road, right?
No.
No, these are mostly, this was from our walk on between Deepwood.
Between Deepwood and New Road, right. The actual property, most of the property is actually on New Road, from New Road access. But the drainage, the water starts on Deepwood Drive, where it's collected through storm drainage systems on Deepwood. It goes through it exits Deepwood to the west, down pipes, hits a structure, goes down what's called a paved swale. So swale being a ditch, right? It was paved back in, I'm guessing, the 70s when Deepwood was built. And then it exits from the paved swale onto the just bare earth. And that, for whatever reason, the storm events back in the 70s and 80s, and it worked. It worked. But over the course of time, since my time here, I can show you pictures where I have a guy who used to work at our department who's 6'5", and he was below ground, standing in the trench that's caused by, right? So we did a project back in 2009 or 10 or 11 where we armored that swale. We brought fill back in, we put it back to level ground, we armed it with riprap, and I mean, it was heavy duty, and it worked for very many years. But frankly, the storms, again, continue to intensify. And what's really weird, not to get into it too far, the area that drains to this particular site is not very large. It's like 18 acres. But what happens is all the water from the collection in those 18 acres comes to the same point at the same time. And it's literally like Paul Welsh, it's too bad he's not still here. There's a video that he took back in 2012 or 13. The water coming through there is nothing. It's raining out. He's standing in the ditch and there's literally nothing, not even a trickle. And all of a sudden, it's like somebody opened a fire hose.
Wow.
It just comes blowing down, and the hill is steep, and as soon as it starts to erode a little bit, it moves rocks this big.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So just so I'm clear, which way is it flowing? From
It flows from
Deepwood
east to
to?
From Deepwood Drive, which is up on the
Yeah.
hill, down, hits New Road, and then goes down
Yeah,
again.
that's what I thought. Okay.
So it's gonna go through people's
What's
property.
the slope of the grade there?
20, well, depends where you are, but it's as steep as 30-something%. I think it averages close to 22%.
Yeah, anything over, what is it, anything over 35% gets into landslide territory.
Yeah.
So it's pretty close to that if you're hitting 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's steep.
So up here on the top of page 2, second paragraph, it says, based on this, the staff developed a request for ARPA, but does it switch it to capital reserve fund somewhere?
It's actually a combination of ARPA. So if I can extend, we did a design a couple of years ago where we weren't going to, fast forward, the new design is to pipe the whole thing, just eliminate the problem by putting it all in a pipe. Okay, a couple of years ago, I mean, it's a lot of money. We're talking about a $600,000 project. We obviously weren't looking to spend $600,000 to try to fix this again, right? So we looked into other technology that we had seen. Matt, my assistant, and I had gone to a couple of seminars in erosion control. And there's a technology or I wouldn't call it technology, where they take riprap. So riprap is broken stones, right? You've seen it come from a quarry. You've seen it on the side of the road where with steep slopes and right? It protects from erosion. Anyways, there's a company that's developed technology where they basically create bags of riprap. They picture chain link fence laid out on the ground, you put riprap on it, you fold chain link back over it, and you sew it together.
Yes.
Okay?
I've seen that.
Pennsylvania has a lot of those on
Sure.
the side.
I think that's on like 291 also or something.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is,
it's not
they are
hard.
used locally.
Yeah.
So our thought
They're pretty
was
good
to
looking.
use those bags,
Yeah.
gabions, they can be called, and line the swale. Because what happens is when the water hits that stone, it starts to push it. And as soon as it starts to push it, it undermines it. And then when it undermines it, that's when you get these big trenches. Anyways, the bottom line is, we don't believe it's gonna work. The event that happened in July that was referenced in the email, in the memo, that would not have worked. Even though the consultant that we talked to about using this was like, oh yeah, we use it on slopes of 1-to-1 and it works. It wouldn't have worked. I don't believe it would have worked. I think we've been back here in 2 years and I'd have been hand in hand going, I'm really sorry, but, you know. So the real answer is let's pipe it.
Okay,
That's the bottom line.
so it's a combination of ARPA and this funding.
Correct.
So how much was from ARPA and how much will be from
So
capital reserve?
275 was allocated from ARPA. We spent a little over 50 of that doing clearing on the lower section. So we hired a company to clear the trees because they had to be cleared to be able to do the work anyway. So that leaves us a remainder of about 225,000. We got our bids back on the project at 528. We need some contingency money, which is why I'm looking for a total of 600,000. The delta is 375 and change.
Wait, I must have missed something. You said 150,000 for clearing or 50?
We paid 50.
50, okay, that's where my math is done. Okay. So that left you
About 225. It's 224, 800 or something, right?
And that's from ARPA. And then how much from capital reserve are you looking for?
375 to
375. Okay.
And then we're gonna leave the leftover money in capital reserve. It just stays.
Yes.
So you need a,
So wait, so the 275 plus the 375.
I feel like we're gonna have to do that on the mountainside eventually. That's
That's the 220, that's what I was talking about.
yes.
But that specific rainstorm, I remember it took out Waterville in at least 2 places coming off the mountain.
And we're lucky that Waterville is a state problem,
Right.
not ours.
So the grand
That's good.
total is what,
600.
600 including some contingency.
Okay.
You good, Margaret?
Yep. Yeah.
Uh,
It's so funny. I'm just seeing this here that I was asking about up here. So. Okay.
Okay.
Math is there.
All right, I'll take a motion to approve a supplemental appropriation of $375,200 from the capital reserve fund for the purpose of the new road remediation as presented.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I'll also take a motion to approve the contract to, is it TNA, Lois? Yeah, to TNA Construction.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Gosh,
Thanks.
some of them were way higher than
Yeah.
TNA.
Wild.
Yeah.
It was a wild guess.
It sure was.
But is TNA gonna have a problem coming from New York?
You know, I had a long conversation with the owner of TNA. I said, first of all, I want to verify that he really felt like, because it's no good if he can't do the work, or if he comes in and he gets into the job and realizes he's bitten off more than he can chew,
Yeah.
or the travel is just kill, there's no joy anymore. But he swears this is right in his wheelhouse. They do a lot of work across all of eastern New York, up through, all the way up to Plattsburgh and down to, he said travel is not a problem for us. So
Maybe he's very efficient at doing the work, if that's what he does.
That's what he was selling.
Yeah.
He said, we're very efficient on what we do. And they have the appropriate equipment, which is really.
Right.
unique.
Yeah.
There's a lot of watershed out there in
Second thing you just went
that area in New York.
Yeah, there is.
Yes, there is.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. Thank you for sticking around.
Thank you.
Yeah, proceedings. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, town manager
Yeah.
update. We made it.
All right. So which is the, oh, here we
Did we
go.
not get
Yeah.
library? Are we getting that in January?
What's that?
Library? Did I miss?
Yeah, library comes through.
Okay.
This was the last one.
Must be somebody else though.
It's like with the operating.
Oh, with operating
Oh,
budget, yeah, too.
Oh, so that's what
Okay.
it's
All right.
Getting late.
This is early for us.
No, it is getting late. It's getting late. It's getting late.
Purchasing and construction at your leisure. Any questions, let us know. One interesting thing that's coming up, we've got the lease agreement with the Phillips is once again coming up in February. So we'll be talking with them about an extension, I'm sure.
Wait, the Phillips?
Fisher.
Sub-edge.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was the name.
Yeah, construction at your leisure. Obviously, the big immediate upcoming event is Tuesday night. So we're diligently preparing all the background material. Met with Bridget and Susan Russo today just to make sure that we're on the same page with respect to the presentation. 7 o'clock.
And
Question.
who runs that meeting? Is that,
Moderator.
okay,
So,
so we just kind of sit in the
council chair.
audience like town
Well,
residents?
no, we're up
Not
there.
exactly,
No.
We didn't have the audience. We'll be
So
up there
the
taking the
council
meeting.
chair calls the meeting to order.
Okay.
And then there's some back and forth, but yes, like for the Q and
High school.
A, council's up on the stage.
Oh, okay.
So just refresh my memory why it's a hand vote. Is it because it's a
That's right.
A dollar
property?
figure.
No,
It's
it's the-
spending.
It's the dollar amount.
It's the dollar amount. So it's not enough for a referendum, but too much.
Too much for
For
a regular
Too much
town
for-
council meeting.
Too much for council, board of finance, not enough for.
And I I know that if it were to be run like a referendum, I'm just worried about making sure that people are able to, it's a finite in-person
Yeah.
time frame that people have to show up for.
Yes.
So is it just in our charter that way? Or is it
Yes.
tied to Connecticut statute, or is it mainly our
Well,
charter?
Percentage of budget in the
Yeah,
charter, right?
but, I mean, the council always has the option of, doing what if you wanted to submit it to referendum, you could. The only problem is you'd have to make that decision early on.
No, I know, I was just trying
Yeah,
to, running a referendum also costs much more money, costs the town money.
Yeah,
Okay,
but yes, the reason it's a town meeting, it's the amount. And the
that's what I
amounts
thought.
are clearly specified in the charter.
So on the town website that has all the information people can go to for it,
Mhm.
I think there's a meeting link in it. It doesn't work.
Oh.
I'll try to remember, I'll try to look and send it to you guys, but I was sending it to my neighbor.
Okay.
Because his wife was a little bit unsure about the project, so I was like, oh, here's all the information, but one of the links doesn't work on it.
Might have timed out.
Yeah,
Might
I think it was a
probably
timed out issue,
Refix
yeah.
it, okay.
Oh, from the previous meeting. right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
September 11th.
yeah, I think that's what it was.
So the moderator, it's just been so long since we've had to have a hand vote. I'd like to review. So the moderator starts the meeting or do you?
I think I'll usually start the meeting and then we have a nomination for a moderator.
And then we
Moderator's
sit
nominated.
and,
We sit in the front and the moderator kind of directs traffic between staff and us and.
And
the
they-
moderator.
and they do the vote. They actually do the counting and
And what we'll do, Margaret, is before the meeting, I would think this will go out tomorrow or first thing Monday. You'll get an outline of responsibilities, so
okay,
you'll
yeah.
see, who's doing what when.
Right.
So,
And where we
did
have to
this was
sit.
for West Avon, right?
Get up.
We did for the
Okay.
fire
The sewer.
trucks.
And the
Oh,
sewer.
Fire truck.
Fire
Oh, and
We
sewer.
did hand vote for
Sewer
the sewer.
too.
We didn't do it for the West Avon property? Maybe I guess I got that mixed up.
Mhm.
No, that was just
that
up through
that
here.
was below.
Right, that was below threshold.
So I would assume, once we're back up, that's when we take the questions, but then the vote, we sit back down and the moderator takes over again.
No, I think for the vote, you're up. Yeah, you're
We
still
won't
sitting
take,
up there.
we probably will not be answering a lot of the questions.
Okay,
A lot of the questions, I believe, will be answered by Bridget or
okay.
yourself.
Yes. That's what I would expect.
Okay.
So, other updates, we continue to work through the URAA aftermath. I think I'm gonna end up taking this off the manager report. You know, basically at this point, it's just, you know, administrative. I mean, we've got one lien that's filed. We've got final bills that are coming in. Nobody's left in hotels. So we're in a position now where we can final all of the file liens and just be done with this and move on. So I would say, just for the record, Christine, Pet Pantry fame up in social services, she really did a good job with this.
Yeah.
Like, really good. So deserves credit. We'll make sure she gets it. So yes, that was all very exciting. Let's hope it doesn't happen again.
Did any of those people have pets? I'm just curious if it merged two of her responsibilities with people leaving and
I
meeting.
don't think so.
Oh.
No, not that I know. And I do have one mercifully short item for executive session.
I make a motion to,
Motion to enter executive session.
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Yeah,
Thank you. To the end.
Appreciate it.
I'm impressed.